AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
Probably should do a new intro there. This has been going on for 80-something episodes, so it's not a new series, I guess, anymore. But thanks, everybody, for joining us. On Saturdays, we go live, like it says, to answer gun questions. Today, Tony's got back from Train and Learn, so I'm going to be asking him a bunch of questions about Train and Learn. But feel free to ask those kind of questions, and depending on how long we go, we might actually address some real questions that have come into the website. But that being said, thanks, Tony, for joining us. Welcome.
Hey, man, glad to be back.
So I'm just going to go past the formalities again. We're at 88 episodes, I guess, for what's the word? I probably should take a minute to introduce both of us. I never introduced myself, really. But let's just dig in. Since we've been kind of chatting already, for us, it's like we've already been sitting here BSing for a while. I figured we were talking about private stuff, I guess, or things maybe not for air. As far as adventures this weekend, but now that we're live, like I say, it's kind of like the conversation is just continuing. But Tony was at Train and Learn. Train and Learn is fifth year. Fifth year.
Fifth year. Started in 2019. We missed a year because of COVID.
So fifth year of a 3-day, 2.5 day, whatever event, 2-day event. Where KD brings a bunch of people together who are both instructors in the industry, maybe manufacturers and gun shop owners, that kind of thing, and then content creators, and brings them all together. And we've talked about it, but Tony just got back, so I just wanted to do that so people who've never heard of what we're talking about. But take the floor for a bit. Let us know, how was it? This was year 4 for you?
Yeah, it was, I think, my fourth one. It's hilarious because it all blends in. Okay, number one, this is not a gun class. This is not a firearms training class, but there is firearms training there in multiple disciplines. All right, let's get that out of the way because I think that confuses a lot of people. It's broken down in almost 11, I think it was 11 or 12 learning segments spread over a 2-day period. And then it's from 9 in the morning until 2 or 3 o'clock. 2 o'clock on Sunday is when you create your content. Is dedicated solely to creating content. You can start creating content from the day you get there. You can create content on your way. I've done that. So the event starts off. This is the first year it took place in Greenwood, which is KD's range. We're talking Kevin Dixie from No Other Choice Firearms Training. It's his range in Georgia or outside of Atlanta. And it is the first official Train and Learn to be done at that site. It's brand new. It has multiple ranges that he's building, and it's off-grid. So we had, it was pretty cool.
Sorry, were the other Train and Learns off-grid?
The other Train and Learns were not. They were not off grid.
Okay,
all right, so they were. Yeah. So this is the first one where we brought in a generator into the big tent. He's going to try to keep it that way because he's also using that as a learning center to teach homesteading and just different skills.
I was thinking of the ranch, where you guys, the range is like a ranch or farm or something in Missouri, but also you went to a place indoors. I forgot about that and did a lot of the indoor classes at some kind of, I forgot about that part of the facility. Okay. So this was all outside, all at Greenwood.
All at Greenwood. I'm sorry. We also did something. We kicked off Friday at the hotel. So we started in a conference room at the hotel, and then we went to Greenwood Saturday and Sunday. So it starts off with education, starts off with him greeting us, telling us what the weekend is about. He does that every year. And he lets you know this is about you and about you learning. And I think that's very important. Also, he puts it on us as people that go to the thing, to the event. It's what you make it. If you only want to make it a range day for Saturday, and that's all you get out of it, then you wasted 2/3 of the visit. And then he introduces us to the different sponsors that are there and to the different speakers that will speak. Now, this year we have them almost every year. It's USCCA. They're a sponsor and they bring speakers in that are amazing people. These people are friends of mine. Heck, they were friends. Some were friends before I ever went to this. But Beth Alcazar, who's the editor for USCCA magazine, she also has written books and is the I think Alabama representative for women for gun rights and many other things. That's what Beth is, and has been a gun writer and in the industry probably for over a decade, well over a decade. She was there as a speaker, talking to us about how to set up your media and how to just go about the business. We had Mike Bauer from USCCA there. He was there to talk about ideas and motivation. You had Jara Hutchins, who is clearing the chamber online, and she talked about. Truthfully, I wish I knew everything she talked about, but it was a lot of information. KD brings in really smart people to give you a lot of information, and I was taking notes all over. I actually started a notebook just for Train and Learn stuff, and I'm talking about from 2019 to last week. So I have my notes from Train and Learns. Um, Jara, Beth, Mike. We had Ken Ross from Primary Arms, who did creative, talking about the creative process. He works for Primary Arms and he's their account manager, I think. So he goes to the shows. He's the one that talks to people. He's like he looks like me if I've never discovered overeating. So he's a real smart dude, slick dude. And he was talking about creative. Uh, how do I put this? Talking about being creative and setting your like website up and setting up interactions between you and your clientele and you and your students. It was like that kind of information, one after the other, after the other, after the other. We had Bursa there with Raphael, and he talked about Bursa and their history, where they came from and where they're going. So a lot of these are sponsors, but understand that in the firearms business, some of these people go from business, to company, still inside the industry. So when they're giving you industry insider scoop, they're giving you the real deal. And these are conversations that you're not going to have on the NRA floor. These are conversations you're not going to have on the phone with them if you don't know them. So what I'm saying is, if you're in the business in any way, in the firearms industry in any way, this is a good place to be if you want to interface with companies. And I think that's a smart idea if you're in this in any way, even just for your own education and edification about like, how does the industry work? Why do people do this? How do they promote things and why do they promote things? This is all some of that inside baseball stuff that you're just not going to get anywhere else. How to run a business, how to contact people to set up, making it easier for you to run your firearms related business. Who has things like donations that you can get if you fall into some parameters. All of that is available to you. And again, it's in a small setting of less, total 70 people. 70 people, and you're there for the express purpose of meeting, mingling, networking, getting to know each other, and you get all the information out there. Look, yeah, you got their contact information. They set you up in a chat group that's exclusive to alumni. All of that, and that's the first day. That's day one. And we went for hours. I think we ended at 9. So from 2 o'clock to 9 o'clock. That was at the hotel
on Friday.
On Friday.
So let me ask a question. Let me interrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
How many people returning versus how many people new? Like, what's that ratio?
It was probably 70-30. 70% new people
returning.
No, 70% new people,
Oh, oh, oh,
30% returning. Yeah.
okay. Then
He tries to
that's
keep it like
different
that.
than past years, no?
Yeah, I think it was way more new people this time. And that's cool too. I don't know if it was the move. I don't know what it was that made that ratio change, but I think it's good. I think it's always good to get new people in and give other people a chance. Plus, a lot of our alumni had been there twice already, or maybe even
Well,
three
that's the
times.
thing, yeah. So, well, that was kind of again. I'm going to have us follow up to this. How old were the
Mhm.
new people? Like, were they youngins or were they old people, or
Oh,
mixed?
we had a mix. We had a mix, which was awesome. We had some people from last year, and we had people in their 30s, 40s, but we had some guys in their, late 20s, which is always good, and just getting into it. And it was good to see new dudes from new places. Some were from Atlanta or around Atlanta, and some just were a sprinkle of people from across the country. So it's always good for that, in my opinion, because of that networking, that getting to know people, regardless of where you are, to know people outside of your area. And of course, when we had our alumni there, you can actually look at them, and Kevin brought it up. These guys are alumni, and they can tell you themselves what they have achieved and what's happened. And yeah, it's pretty amazing if you watch what happened. I mean, I got phone calls and I've networked, and I have pretty much trainers in almost every state that I know at this time. Like, I can pretty much send out a text, email, or something, and if it's nothing but 6 degrees of separation, I can get a hold of a trainer or arrange in another state. So and that came from Train and Learn, and of course my other time, doing what I'm doing. But Train and Learn is easy. I think it's $400. It's $400 for this weekend of intense learning and networking. And I think you can make that pay for itself. I've seen dudes do it. I've seen people do it. Some of the guys there became USCCA instructors, and then when you become USCCA instructors, that gives you another instructor certification that you can use. One of my guys there, Clayton, Pivotal Defense, he's used it to get into 511 stores. So he's in his local 511 store teaching first aid, trauma care, because of the connection between USCCA and just the networking, and you get to know people. And he took the USCCA trauma care and became a trauma care instructor for USCCA, and he's exploited that into having a regular class at his local 511 store. And of course, yes, I also teach firearms training. Oh, and his wife is a firearms trainer too. So now he has an in. So his wife is teaching women's classes, and he's teaching his first aid class, but also firearms related class, all from people he met at Train and Learn and grew that circle. That was Friday. That was a way to establish yourself. And then we split up and really grabbed anybody near us and went, hey, we're going to eat. And because we moved from Festus, Missouri, which is an hour outside of St. Louis, which only has a few places that are open late at night, to outside of Atlanta, an hour outside of Atlanta, we were able to go to the hotel on the other side. I mean, go to the restaurant like 400 feet away. So we just walked over and had a great meal and had a long table and just got to know the people around us, met new people, which was amazing, and found out where they're from, what they do. And now we have not a clique, but just like a group of people. And we went in and turned in early because the next day starts at the range at like 9 o'clock, and we pull out at 8:45. So everybody was up and ready to go around 7, and they had a free continental breakfast at the hotel. So now we're all in there drinking coffee, being blurry eyed, but getting to know each other, BSing, and talking about what gun you have or what you're carrying or what you hope to learn or just anything and everything. But we're all talking.
Let me interrupt
Then,
again because I'm not making
yep,
notes and I'm going to forget stuff. So, well,
yeah,
just
no problem.
curiosity, just out of curiosity, was the breakfast decent for the event? Was it like a waffle and eggs type of breakfast, or was it like here's some skim milk and a box of cereal? useless calories
It
kind
was
of thing.
it was provided by the hotel as that continental breakfast they had, and
Yeah, I
I
know,
thought it
but I'm
was
saying they've
decent.
kind of had a spectrum, so that's why I'm curious.
Yeah, yeah. This one we were at the Fairfield, so it was good. I've been to others, and it's yeah, just that box of cereal, and lukewarm milk over in the corner.
So you
But
didn't
this
have
was
to like
actually good.
stop somewhere else to get breakfast. You were
Not
able
at
to
all.
actually eat there. Right on. That's cool.
Yep,
And
which was
then I was
really
going
cool
to
because
ask.
go ahead.
No, I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
No, no. I mean, that was really cool that you had breakfast there, so everybody didn't have to scatter to the winds, and you'll only, have a couple of people you're with. It was all of us are coming in, and again, it's a Saturday, and it's 7 o'clock. So the only people are the people that wake up early for vacation and us. So that allows us to hang out and be ourselves, and everybody's out there. It increases the networking potential if you choose
Yeah,
to.
the esprit
All
de
right,
corps, that's what we used to call it. I was going to
hmm
ask the alumni. Of the alumni, how many of them are multiple alumni, and how many of them are just like been there twice? I mean, obviously, you don't know the number, but I mean, is it mostly people that have like just hardcore been there every single year, or is it a couple of years and you're an alumni and people? I mean, because you've been there enough to know how many people have
Yeah,
shown up.
I've only missed one. Um, it's funny. Yeah,
Well, you missed
after
it,
you're
but
there
you're also
twice.
aware of everybody that was there. So I mean, you might as well have been
Yeah,
there. I mean,
true.
you weren't there, but you know who was there. I mean,
Yeah, I know who was there, and I think what it is two. After the second one, you're just in, regardless of how many times you've been there. After the second one, you're in your family, you're talking.
but I mean, is that like I know
And
Jera shows up at a lot of them, and I don't. I'm
mhm.
trying to think of who else is. Well, obviously KD, but I'm trying to think of who else.
Jara, you got Alicia Garcia, the Boomstick Babe. She's pretty
Looks like
much staffed now. Yeah, she's
Colorado.
pretty much
Okay.
staffed there to make things work. We got Transfer Chronicles of Devin. Devin is
Okay.
also staffed. He lives in Colorado now.
Oh, I
He
was gonna say
makes it
he's
work.
Florida. He used to be Florida, so now he's Colorado.
Yeah, he was Florida, he was DC, he was everywhere, but now he's in Colorado. You have Jara, who's in Texas, but she's pretty much staffed now, organizes it, helps runs it. And these are all people that started out as attendees in 2022. Alicia was at her first event, and I met her there. Jara showed up at the original one in 2019, but she wasn't an instructor, she was an attendee. Uh, Devin started there as help and volunteer, and he's still there now. So these guys, they start out, they believe, and if they can help, Kevin will put you to work. We have, I mean, like last year, I volunteered and I helped set up, the initial tent where we had some of the classes at and where we gathered around and did different things. I helped set that up along with another couple of alumni. It's just showing up and getting to work and being present. I think that's important. Again, whatever you bring to it is what you get out of it. If you just show up for the classes and beat feet afterwards, you kind of wasted a holiday weekend if that's all you're going to ever do.
So, I mean, I don't know what else you want to tell us if I'm interrupting here, but I was going to
Okay.
ask how did your gear run? I know you were kind of debating what to bring and what did you end up bringing, and then how did it run?
All right, cool. Boom. Get out to the range. That's Saturday. We split up in the groups. I'm the team captain again because I guess time in, and people know I'll do it without complaining. So first class we go to is pistol class. For that particular class, I brought my Glock 19 police trade in. I also brought in the high point pistol, the high point 40 cal, but we didn't break that out until Sunday for content creation. We did the pistol shooting. It was unlike the last few years. We didn't split up. They asked us about our experience and do we consider ourselves advanced or not. And I volunteered advanced, and so did about 90% of my group. We had two people that didn't consider themselves that. Now, understand, we had mostly instructors, almost all instructors actually in my group, but some didn't consider themselves advanced. So we went into it and we did the pistol thing. It was good. We had two pistol instructors that actually have worked together before for USCCA and developed USCCA's handgun program. self-defense handgun program. So they were there and they ran us. We were there broken down into 90-minute or 2-hour segments, and they ran us to a condensed version of USCCA's handgun curriculum. So that was good. That got us firing some rounds. Ammo was provided by Phoenix Ammo, who was also an attendee last year in 2023. He's out of Michigan, and he donated his ammo to us to use on the range. So we didn't really have to bring any ammo for the range day. The ammo we bought would have to be for our content creation on Sunday.
Wow, that's
That
pretty
was
sweet.
the
Did
yeah,
you
that
know
was really
about that,
awesome.
or was that a surprise?
I knew about it, but I brought my own ammo anyway in case things didn't happen. Remember, I didn't read any of the emails they sent, so because
Right.
I'm
Well, and
dense.
plus that's laid plans, right? Like just because somebody wants to be able to do it doesn't mean they're able to. Something happens last minute or something.
Yeah, and plus I was driving my own vehicle, so I didn't worry about it that way. So I bought my ammo with me because I didn't have to worry about flight weight restrictions. So that was really a good class. I was worried about how hot it was going to be down there, and it was actually overcast and started raining a little bit, which was awesome because it kept it from getting too ridiculously hot. Then I
What
went over
about
to
you're
the.
probably
Go
okay
ahead.
with humidity. You're probably okay with humidity. Like I wouldn't be able to deal with the humidity in Georgia. I don't think. Not doing things.
Oh yeah,
Like I could
not doing
exist, but I
things.
couldn't do things.
Oh, and let's throw my physical limitations in because my knees were trashed. We've seen, if you've been paying attention to me, whine like a baby on this particular podcast about riding a scooter, electric scooter at SHOT Show and a Great American Outdoor Show. Well, my knees got jacked up again at work because the elevator went down for 2 months and I'm up and down stairs. So we go to KD's. It's a brand new range. It's just dragged off, bulldozed, but it's not even. So it was very uneven terrain, and I ended up walking with a walking stick, a hiking stick,
Okay.
actually. Thank you, Patrick from Gun Food, the Gun Food. Patrick Collins owns Gun Food, which is an ammunition supplier. He rolled his ankle Friday and was walking with a hiking stick, and he was like, "You want my other one?" So he gave me one, and I was
Nice.
able to lean on that during the pistol class, which is hilarious watching me do reloads with a cane shoved into my side, doing reloads, firing and reloading. But I had to keep up with the cane, which I may have to do one day. So I think it was kind of cool that it was there for me, actually. Uh, then we went to the rifle range. The rifle range was ran by Sean and Beth Alcazar, or as Sean liked to call himself, Mr. Beth Alcazar. And they ran the AR-15 segment. And if you could say, Beth actually wrote a book on the AR-15 and how to run it. And Sean runs the class. She's his assistant instructor. And we were split in the group. So we had 12 people going through like a 2-hour segment on the AR-15. And it was really good. And for that one, I bought my 9mm high point in the bullpup configuration, and then I read the thing, and they said they wanted us to have ARs. Well, I pulled out my dissipator that I bought, my Palmetto State Armory build. But the thing was, I was not prepared to run that in the carbine class because I didn't have a sling on it. And since I didn't have a sling, it was hard to do some of the things they needed us to do with a sling. So before it even got started, we did some dry fire, and he needed to see who was in place and everything. And they went, "This is going to be a problem with you." And we had Tactical Life Firearms there out of Florida. They're one of the sponsors, and they've been there before. Well, Lance was in our class, in our group, and he went, "Here, take mine." So he gave me the Tactical Life 16-inch AR with a suppressor, with a primary arms 5X prism scope, and a 45-degree offset red dot from primary arms too.
Oh, nice.
Well, yeah, and a sling. So he was like, "I'll go get another firearm." And he took off running to the other segment because these are stretched out a little bit because Greenwood is 40 acres. So he took off before I could even say anything. He was like, "Here's my gun. Bye." Phew. Okay. So he's gone, and guess what I get to learn to do? I get to learn how to shoot at a 45-degree offset because I've never done this before with an optic. And I get to run an optic with a suppressor, which I've never done before. So all of this was new to me. And I think that was one of the cooler things because I mean, my dissipator, I've ran that for years, and it's pretty much just a 16-inch M16A2, and I started working with that in 1988. So I'm completely aware of how to run that gun. Plus, I've taught what 5, 6. Damn, how long ago was 2012? Jesus, 5 or 6 years. Yeah, 12 years. 12 years. Yeah. I'm like 5 or 6. Wait a minute. No, 12. I've run 12 years of classes with that firearm, so I know it. So having the opportunity to run something totally new, not as in the controls, but it's different when you run a suppressor. You're getting gas back in your face. That's new to me. It's different when we were running close. We were running within pistol distance, so there was no way I could use a 5X prism. So everything I shot was with the firearm turned at 45 degrees using the red dot.
I mean, I've done that a little bit. I don't own one like that, but I've played with them. So what was your conclusion?
My takeaway was it's easier than I thought it would be. We didn't, take corners or anything. We were just shooting on a square range or square range rules. And once you learn the offset, it's good to go. I had zero problems with the tactical light firearm. I looked it up, to check and see what it is. And it is pretty much a mid-entry AR-15. So it has everything you want with all the parts that you look for in a $1,200 AR. It's got the Hansen barrel from Ballistic Advantage. I mean, it just has all the good stuff that you'd find on a $1,200 gun. So, and I think it's cool because they've supported us at Train and Learn, but they're there for me. You got their phone number and everything like that if you're one of the alumni. And actually being an alumni, I think you got $200 off the rifle if you bought one at the event. So that was pretty good. So now all of a sudden you have this $1,100, $1,200 gun for $800 or $900. I ran that. I had fun with it. And of course, they told us to do a 5 as the class was closing off because you're under tight time constraints because we had a night shoot also that we had to get everything set up for. And they came by and was like, all right, we want you to, on the command up. And they were doing this individually at the very end to see your skills, see how you worked with everything. On the command up, we want you to put 5 rounds into the number 5 as quickly as possible. Well, this is me. This is the only time I've ever had to be able to run suppressed and everything like this. So, of course, at the up command, I just did an entire mag dump as fast as my finger would move. I think it was 15 rounds I put through the number 5 because I could. Because I could, and I'd never been able to do a mag dump with a suppressor. So I wanted to see how smoky does it get? Does it get distracted? Does it get even louder? All those questions I was trying to answer within the 2 hours to 90 minutes I had to run this class. And it was fun. Everybody knew why I did it and what I did, and they thought it was hilarious. And then they just went to the next person. But it was fun. I learned a lot. And I get to use something different. And I thought that dang suppressor would burn the skin off of me if I wasn't careful. So I was very careful with it. I don't even know if it was hot because I didn't check.
Did it have a cover on it?
Didn't have a cover on it because usually the last time I took a class, burn-proof gear, I used Modern Material rifle because I took a Chris Costa class. And Joe from Modern Material actually had a burn-proof gear suppressor cover over the end of the barrel where the gas block was, just in case it got hot. And I assume that's what they would have had on this particular rifle, but they didn't. Oh, and the suppressor was a tactical life suppressor also. They built those. So the whole gun was their gun. So I thought it was pretty interesting and a chance I didn't expect to get, but I did take advantage of.
Yeah, that's cool. You get a bunch of pictures that way.
I didn't get as many pictures as I thought. Beth was taking pictures and everybody was trying to get into class. We were burning it because the rain had kind of messed up our timetable. I mean, hard rain, cow pissing on a flat rock. And Luckily, the range is more sandy than clay. You know what I mean? It looks, when you look at the pictures and you see it, it looks like red clay, and it wasn't. It was more sandy
Oh, I
than
see.
that. So yeah, so at least it wasn't like a swamp. It just, the dirt sucked it up, and we didn't have big ass mud puddles all over the place and turned into
Okay.
Woodstock again.
Does it
So
get anything else like I don't know what there could be? I've never been. I've been to Georgia, but I haven't like farted around in Georgia. So is it um anything else like deal with
they warned us about the
snakes or
snakes.
oh, okay.
They, they warned us about the snakes and told us not to shoot them. Um, just get away from them if you can. Don't shoot the snakes, which is important, especially because you have people from around the country that may not have grown up in the country.
Yeah.
Excuse me, around the nation that never grew up in the country, as in not city. And you need to tell them because everybody's armed, and I don't need anyone freaking out doing a mag dump at a garter snake. That's trying to just get across the road to catch a ladybug. So that was the only warning they gave us about nature, which was good. The next thing we went, I think we did lunch, and then and lunch was provided actually by the gun food, which was awesome. That was Chick-fil-A. Like they brought
Oh,
out Chick-fil-A lunches. Yeah, and understand again, I'm telling you because it's important for something later on that I feel I failed as a alumni and as a trainer and just as a dude. I had difficulty walking. So what happened is whenever I wasn't online, I was actually sitting in a chair. I brought a chair with me to take the weight off of my knees because they were really killing me. I mean, it was very, very distracting, but I think it's important that I still do this stuff. I'm not going to let it stop me. So we did that. We went to lunch, and then we went to something called the Brain Range. Now, the Brain Range, dang, I don't have this information. If you can look at, do hashtag, if you go to social media, especially Instagram, and type in hashtag train and learn 2024, it will pull up a lot of the things we did, everybody did, everyone's using that hashtag. And you'll go there and you'll see a brother with dreadlocks. He's a doctor and he was running the brain range. And what the brain range was a way for us to, you had to think your way through problems they had set up that were interactive. They had iPads set up. One of the things was just thinking. They had the words written down like blue, but the blue was written in orange. The lettering was colored orange. And they told us before we started, you punch the color that the letters are written in. And then an array of colors like Simon, the game Simon that we grew up on, the kid pops up. And it says blue, but blue is written in orange, so you have to push orange. And everything's on a timer. And it's about your cognitive skill. It's about your ability to make decisions based on the instruction you had quickly. And then after you finish that one, they inverted it and you have to write it down according to what the words say. If it says blue, but blue is orange, you need to press blue and not orange. So we did that. Then they had a shoot, no shoot segment. And then you had to shoot colors and you had to add things up in your head. So different scenarios, and they were using SIRT pistols. They were using airsoft guns to shoot targets because one target will light up and then another light up, and you can only shoot it if it lit up a certain way. And all of this was done on the range. And since it didn't use firearms, we didn't have to have a berm or a backstop. So that was pretty cool. Because it was thinking with a gun in your hand. It was thinking before you pull a trigger. And that was one way to do it and actually not have to have hearing protection and to be able to get people to participate. Now, because the ground was really unimproved, let's just say, I was not going to be running around. So I did the brain thing with the laptop, but I didn't take part in the running back and forth between obstacles and putting rounds on target according to the colors because I just didn't need to roll a knee, an ankle, or anything like that. If you're looking at this, okay, right now I'm looking at the screen. Hold on. All right. You
Or
see
I'll go back
behind
to
what
the
you're showing?
beginning. Oh, let me go back
Okay.
then. So
All right.
let me start with the sold out, since this
Yep.
I think is where it starts, right?
Sure.
So it's sold out. That sounds good. I didn't realize that it got sold out.
Oh yeah, it sold out rather quickly. Actually, no, I think it sold out just on a roll at the end. Everybody tried to bang out their tickets.
And then so this is that hotel room, I'm guessing.
Yep, and that's Ken Scott right there. Wait a minute, which one am I looking at? Okay, yeah, I'll go with what you're showing live because the delay is messing me up. So that's Ken Scott from Primary Arms. Excuse me, Ken Ross from Primary Arms. That's the hotel.
And
All the
they're in
way in the back is me. What was that?
they're in
Yeah,
Texas.
out of Houston. Yes,
Okay. You're not in this picture, are you?
I'm all the way in the back of the room. You probably can't see me.
Okay. And then
All right,
this is
that's
KD.
Mike.
So I'm just going through KD's pictures.
Yep, that's Mike from USCCA. He's the medical instructor. He actually wrote the curriculum and teaches it pretty good. This is the second year I know he was there, and it was good working with him. And he brought his son, who's also a EMT medic, and he was actually his assistant instructor. And they ran us through how to apply uh, tourniquets, how to apply pressure dressing, how to pack a wound, how to transport, how to look for injuries and prioritize them. All of that in like a 90-minute to 2 hour learning segment. It was pretty good. It was pretty intense, but it was also laid back and fun because, as you can see, the size of the group is small. I think it was no more than like 6 or 8 of us, and I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. That was Devin. Oh, and the whole time they had photographers coming around taking pictures. All right, this is the handgun class. Is that Rich? I think it is. So that's the handgun class, and those are the two instructors. On the left, the closest guy, the shorter guy, he's the main instructor. The other guy's is instructor. And as you can see, that's the sand dirt we were on. Those are the targets in the background. We worked between, I think, 5 and 7 yards on those targets. And what we were doing was shooting the 3-inch circles that they had on the target, or the I think about 3-inch wide, 4-inch long rectangles we had on the target. So it wasn't just hitting a man-sized group; it was hitting what you were aiming at specifically on a timer. And I thought that was pretty good instruction, also. But understand they were given instruction from people with a wide range of experience or lack of experience. So you couldn't just jump into the deep end of the pool like we did in previous years, depending on what group came through, because you knew what you could skip over with the group when you came in and found out everyone's experienced or everyone's a beginner. All right, cool. Everyone's a beginner. This is where we're going to start. This is where we're going to end and feel it's a good job. Those are the different groups, as you can see. Uh, they allowed the sponsors to actually be in on the classes too, which was really good. And
That's cool.
between each class would end. We would go over and have sponsor time, and the sponsors would go over their product line and whatever, their product line and what they wanted you to know about their products. And then you went to the next class. You completed that class, and then you come back over to another sponsor, and they'll give this is our stuff. This is how to reach us. This is the discount you get for being part of this. Boom, next class. So the sponsors were able to have those conversations, get their product out there, and still participate, which I think works out well for them too.
Yeah, that's a lot more powerful for a sponsor than just to say, here's a banner, or just to say, blah, 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 brought to you by. Because really the whole point of this is to bring the content creators and it's not going to hurt for a manufacturer or shop owner to understand the marketing or whatever that we're talking about. But then that way, when I'm trying to think of a couple of examples, but I definitely know back in the old days for sure, and some examples still today where that's where part of what you'll get with their presentation or their whatever, like maybe their party or something, is okay. Now let's talk about how we want you to sell our shit. And like I say, let's say these knives. Like I keep getting knives from China, companies in China, and they'll
Mm-hmm.
like the name of one of them is PRAXIMD, and I'm like, what the hell am I supposed? How am I supposed to say that? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
if they actually did something like that where they said, hey, here's a bunch of free knives and join us on Thursdays, and every Thursday we have a shit, we shoot the shit with all the people that help us out, and essentially, here's how we'd like you to sell it. Talk about the blade quality, because our biggest, we're super happy about the blade quality or something. So I think that's like really valuable. And I think it was at Shot maybe, but there was some sort of a prepared meet and greet at something else, and that's sort of the way that it was presented, and it was a little awkward, but because it was so fast to the thing I was at, but yeah, that seems like the way to do it. And the way you described that you're doing something, physical activity, mental activity, right? Now you're reloading your guns and you're
Mm-hmm.
reloading your hydration yourself, right? You're reloading giving yourself a break. That's a really good time to get all that info, because it's not like you need to memorize it. You're not, you're an adult. You understand that the info is there, but then they can present it and you can go, okay, I know the totality of that, what I need to know about this product. So if I ever do need to fiddle with this product, I know exactly where to go and get exactly what they want me to do. You don't have to memorize it, but you can understand the layout of it, the lay of the land.
Yep.
That's really
The
good.
thing that got me was when do you get a chance to actually be in a class with one of these people? You
Well,
know what I
that's
mean? Now you have it's you
sweating
and the
equity, or
8
like there's
people in your
something to
group.
that, like the
Yeah,
brotherhood or
it's you.
whatever of doing something
Yeah,
together with somebody.
you're doing something together with them. Now understand, when you're a shot, when you're doing a cold call, and when they only know you through emails, it's a totally different thing to go, man, those mosquitoes were kicking our ass and it was hot out in that sun, wasn't it? Yeah, because I was there with you. We were stuffing magazines at the tailgate together. You know what I mean? We had that chance to talk, and just not about shop stuff, just about anything.
Well, and
What if,
you can, in a group this size too, you don't have to be like best friends with the person or have been along next to them the whole time, because you're alumni of it. You understand that there's other people there. So if there's 6 people
hmm
they're going to talk to and you're an alumni, even if they don't know you, you're ahead because you're an alumni. So there's that element to these kind
exactly.
of get-togethers that is priceless, really.
It really is. You can't, and again, you do the follow up, and they continually tell you how to do follow up with these people, how to have conversations, not just with these people, actually the sponsors that are there, but any sponsor. Don't just go up and go, "Hey, I want free stuff." It was like they find people to ask for free stuff all the time. After the show, you got their card, call them, hit them up with an email. If you don't get a return back, call them again in another week. Put in the effort, because most people fall off immediately and don't even make that phone call. So this is all the stuff they put out there for you to do. Again, when I tell people go to Train and Learn, you will learn inside baseball stuff. I just gave that one out for free, which is really crazy, because if you spent the money to go somewhere to meet people, go to NRA, go to SHOT, and you don't call them after you spend all that money to go there, you wasted an opportunity and wasted time and wasted money. You could have
And
stayed at home.
it's a realistic expectation to it's an unrealistic expectation to expect someone to have met you in a crowd of other swarm or whatever you want to call it, like a
hmm
waterfall of other introductions that they had that weekend or that week or whatever it was, and then for you to think that they're going to remember you in your situation is unrealistic. It's putting too much on that other person, and yeah, to expect them to respond to your email. I mean, unless they only talk to 8 people, then maybe that's more realistic. But reality, they probably talk to 8 people an hour for a couple of days.
Yeah, they get bombarded at these shows. I mean, if you think
Okay.
about it, NRAs between 60,000 and 80,000 people. If just 1% walks past their table, and we're talking companies like Brown Owls, Primary Arms, these are bigger companies. You know, the heck of a lot more than 1% of people came by the table. That's a lot of folks. So this gives you a chance. Train and Learn, NOC, what is it? NOCtrainlearn.com is really something you should go to and check out if you're a content creator. And if you want to meet a diverse group of people, if you want to meet people from different backgrounds, and I'm not just talking about skin color, I'm talking about how they came into the
No, yeah,
industry.
Where's that? Here, look at this. Look at all the beards and all the different kind of clothes and all the different kind of, faces. Like there's, I guess more than beards. There's like old people and there's young people. Like because young people have beards, but they look like 1930s barbers or something. Like so. There's just the diversity in every shape and form here.
Yep. I
And
mean,
there's a
you look
diversity
at,
over time. I mean, this isn't I don't know. This isn't everybody there. This is just
like
a number of
that was
pictures
our
that he
group.
took.
That was my group that popped up.
This one.
Right before go back
This one?
one. That's us. Yeah,
With
that's
Jared?
us right there.
Okay.
Yep.
That looks like Chris
Oh
and
yeah.
Samforo a little bit, but it ain't.
Yeah, no, that's funny because that's Chris Lyle, not Chris from 704. But that's our group there. Oh, that's me in the back over the shoulder of the. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, really? You got weird glasses on. Looks like you got scuba glasses or swimming glasses.
No, that's just my regular glasses. The lady in front is Kaya, and she's with not Women for Gun Rights, Girl in the Gun. We have Maria from USCCA. So we had ladies there, we had dudes there, and from across America. And it's like, well, what does that have to do with me? How's this? Michael Woodland? Michael Woodland. I think that's Mike's last name. Anyway, Mike contacted me 3 years ago. I don't know if I told you this. Mike was one of the instructors at the first training line. He contacts me and goes, "Hey, Tony, I got a problem. I have an instructor who's in Jersey. He had a private range on his own property. He's hosting a class with a national level instructor. His neighbors complained, and pretty much he can't host the class on his property. Do you know somebody you can call to get him in a range this weekend?" Give me a second, Mike. Made one phone call to someone I knew here. He was like, "When is it? How much is it? Where is it? How many people?" Hit Mike back up, ask him those questions, because I didn't even know what questions to ask, really. Now I do. He was like, "All right, cool. Contact him." Guy was like, "Yep, give them my phone number. I'll set up something directly." All right, boom. Mike, this is the phone number you need to give. Actually, he had the instructor call me. So, because he wanted, he opted out. This is Tony. He introduced her to me. I was like, all right, I have your number. I hooked those two people up. Next thing you know, they have a class. The instructor from Jersey went to Pennsylvania and ran a class at a range in PA. Well, he made such a good impression on the range owner that the range owner eventually hired him to be an instructor. And within 2 years, he's the head in training at that range in Pennsylvania from one phone call from an alumni. I'm
I
like,
think you've said that story before. It's cool. I don't think either you just said it and I didn't absorb it, or you just mentioned it as a friend or an instructor, but I didn't know it was Mike Woodland. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I haven't heard him in a while. He's still doing good?
Well, Mike was doing a podcast, and I think they stepped away from it. Him and his wife, I think, were both doing that instructor thing. So I haven't heard from him in a while, and this reminds me, maybe I need to hit him up. But yeah, it was so Sam ends up being an instructor. Kidde Boose, or Bouse, she ran the class. And it's like, so now I know another group of people on another layer just from, again, train and learn and a phone call. When my wife needed something in South Carolina, I was able to get on the phone and actually hook up with 3 different instructors in South Carolina in case, find out which one's close to my wife in case she needed something before I could get there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what ultimately, like, I guess in real life layer of these relationships is, you could be traveling or something like that. You got family or people, your people are somewhere. And if you know an extended group of friends, then yeah, that's always nice to have everything from a couch to a wrench to a dinner or something available to people is always nice.
Yeah. So right now it's in the formative stages in my head about setting up a series to introduce people to firearms training. because we got the election coming up. So there'll be people buying firearms that haven't bought them before because, listen, the industry does this in every prior to every election, where they strike the fear of God, and some people that every gun you own will be banned. And there'll be new gun owners out there, and also the gun owners that are there since 2020 that maybe have been thinking about taking a class. I want to set something up from purchasing a firearm. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to get a sponsor to send me a rifle and get another one to send me a handgun that are good entry level firearms. And then I'm going to go to friends of mine who actually have classes and take classes. And that means I'm going to either take, an entry level beginner class or stage one class, whatever that my friends are holding. One, to introduce people to local instructors and the quality of instruction that you can get locally. And also, I'm going to invite people in Jersey who are local to actually take those classes if they've never taken a class before, or if you have taken a class before, to get refresher training with these local instructors. So that's what I'm going to try to do, to introduce people to step one by doing it myself with them. It might be cool. It might freaking flop. I don't know, but I got a friend of mine's willing to do it with me, willing to let it be the first guinea pig. So, and also, I want to go ahead and get the firearm now instead of, yeah, I know I built my first PSA gun 10, 12 years ago. That's kind of not fair. I can't even use that pricing structure. You know what I mean? Even though I can't.
Well, it would be an indicator, but yeah, it's not accurate, right? Or whatever that would. I think that's the way to say it. Like it would be.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what it would be like, but it's not the right prices for today. So you might as well do it with the right prices for today.
Might as well do it with the right prices, right gun. Oh, also, okay, boom, we're on a range day. We shoot guns. That's really cool. My next one was the. Do I?
No.
Yeah. Oh, I got video posted. If you go down.
Go to your circle.
Oh no. No. Pop back out to my page. Scroll down. Reels? Yeah, just reels. I just have reels. If you click on the reels with Jara, 1, 2, 3. Scroll down a little more. Yeah, anything without my face in it. Scroll back up to the young lady on the right side. Yep, her. Click. Boom. Okay. All right. That's actually a video that I took just sitting in a chair of the instruction that was going on in front of me on Sunday morning. Okay. These are instructors creating content over in the corner at the range. This is another guy who's the young guy who's getting doing the interview. He's a felon. He got out of prison and got his rights back. And he's starting a program actually to help other people who've gotten their stuff together after they got out of prison and want to get their firearms rights back. So this was his very first time even dealing with anyone in the firearms industry. He has his own, he has just started his own Instagram page and things like that to actually help reach out to others and also just have something to put his interviews that he's doing. He's actually having a discussion with the firearms instructor from USCCA on the correct way to hold a gun. That's what this whole conversation is about. How much pressure to push on, the push-pull technique, all of that. And this is on Sunday between interviews. And then, you see those gentlemen? That's Fridge out of...
I think I can pause it, right, by clicking on it? I can't.
Maybe, I think you can.
Yeah.
There you go. So when I do, that's Ken Ross right there on Primary Arms. If you look, you can't zoom in, but on the table, he has a couple of firearms there. He has two handguns because he didn't bring a bunch of stuff because we're moving all kinds of things and people are creating content with it. He has a Glock 34 with one of the Primary Arms red dots on it, but he also has a Beretta 92X with a red dot, which if most people don't know, Beretta 92s really don't take red dots that well. They finally started cutting them for red dots, but they had to rearrange stuff inside the slide. So you got to actually check out their red dot and their RS-15 their RS-15 red dot, which was so clear that my stigmatism didn't even go nuts on me, and I was able to actually shoot precisely with it one-handed and nail the center of a target at about 25 yards.
So that's what I was
with
going to say is
zero
you can be like, hey, I want to go check this out, and then go over and shoot it somewhere. Like you're not just
Yep,
looking at it at the table.
you get it, pick it up at that table, take 3 steps back, turn around and shoot, or turn around, take 3 steps and shoot. But
Now,
it's right there.
When is this? Is this like a time when you just have a chance to look at stuff, or is this like for making videos?
All right, this was Sunday morning, and it was the hour of making videos. But at 10 o'clock, actually, we pushed it to 10:30. 10:30, the range is live, load it up, start shooting, and doing videos then too. That's when I filmed mine. All right, and then right after this, if you click it again, you'll see me zoom in, and that's right there. Those guys are actually doing interviews with Gun Food, the Patrick from Gun Food,
Right,
and they're actually
yeah.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's Doc with a Glock. That's Doc with a Glock interviewing Fridge. This guy's not a podiatrist. He's a podiatrist that got into firearms, and then he decided to introduce other people to firearms.
Doctor.
Yep, he's an actual doctor, and I did a video with him that I haven't posted up yet. Just a minute, because we're going to contact each other, and I'm actually going to do a straight up interview with him. But yes, he's a podiatrist. This is his 2nd year, and he was creating content because he has a podcast, Doc with a Glock, DOCWITA Glock, Doc with a Glock, and it's on Spotify. So if you want to check him out, he actually introduces people to firearms and walks you through it as someone who's new. So I think that's pretty cool. And again, as a medical professional, it really is pretty cool that he's on our side. Now, if you, and that lady right there, haha, Jenny, Jenny's an actress that was actually working with Patrick from Gun Food as his assistant, but she's an actress and a stunt person, and she was there because she's a firearms owner, Glock 43X, that she runs, and she was there to learn how to run guns more efficiently to help her with not only her career as a stunt person, but her career as an actress, and also just as an American that learns to run guns. And you should have seen, because that right there is Devin teaching her from Trenchwork Chronicles, and she was doing some smooth, like John Wick like reloads with an AR with probably about 20 minutes of live fire. Like he'd load up, 1 round, she'd fire it, do the mag change, pow, fire the next round, put it on safe, and he'd just hand her another magazine. And she was just doing that, pow, slide lock, reloads over and over again until she was just really, really smooth with it. And that was just on content day, and that was because they had the range time. She wasn't creating content for herself. All right, that's High Caliber, North Carolina. She wrote a book, actually. We'll have it in here, where she went and shot High Caliber Heather, I think is her name. And she wrote a book and toured all 50 states, going to a range in every state.
What?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep, she put the book out and actually gave me a copy.
All right. How big is that book? Is it like
it's like 100 pages or so.
It's not like a novel. Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
No.
I like that.
Yeah, a lot of pictures, just to break down a picture of her at the range and a breakdown of where the range was, kind of thing, and a little story behind like how the guy get there. Again, she didn't know me, I didn't know her, so I could have saved her a lot of trouble in Jersey and actually had to go to a range that people heard of. She went to like a really small, out of the way range because you only can go with what you know.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, exactly. But now her circle's bigger because she went to train and learn. And now she has at least a roster of 60 or 70 other people from around the country that she can contact if she wanted to do something like that again. She comes to Jersey. I got
Instagram.
Yeah. She's tagged. I tagged her in it. So if
Oh.
you click on the tag in there, it should be in like one of the corners or something, right? The little, yeah,
Oh,
right there.
God, cool.
Yeah.
This Heather 72 one?
Nope. Nope. Back out. High Caliber, North Carolina, or something like that. Click on it again and just start scrolling down on the thing on the right.
High Caliber.
High
NC.
Caliber. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Assuming, she's already following my channel. Good. So I had no idea there was somebody doing a project like that. 50 states in my sights. Nice. That's super cool. All right. So why is my internet acting all shitty all of a sudden? Supposed to have the good internets. So this is just sitting in the parking lot, I'm guessing.
That was in the parking lot. I wanted to get a really good picture with her real quick. She'd given me the book and we'd had a conversation, and I realized that I didn't have a picture with her. So I was like, hey, can we take a picture real quick? And it ends up being a nice photo. Thank goodness. And you got a lot of people there that actually know how to use cameras. You know what I mean? Because that could kind of suck.
And pushing a button is one thing, knowing how to get lighting, or like, hold off, let me stand over here instead of over there so that the sun's in the right way, kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's my friend Clayton from Pivotal Defense. And if you watch, what that was is punching out, and before by the time your arm's fully extended, you're ready to pull the trigger. That was just getting rounds on target quickly. And that was the drill we did. Then you bring it down, then you punch out again. And it was about shooting quicker, not faster. That's one of those things. This is a group photo of us. And again, it shows you like they're different people from different parts of the country, different experience levels. And yeah, you have Jared there from Guns and Gadgets, which I think is a pretty big YouTube channel. But he's also the owner of Blackout Coffee, or one of the owners of Blackout Coffee, and he was a sponsor. So it was pretty cool. Again, I got to hang out with him, and he actually punched his phone number into my phone himself, because he knows about the work I do through John Patton, who's also a distributor of Blackout Coffee. John has been to my events, and it's, again, one of those 6 degrees of separation, because
you never hung out with or met Jared before?
I never met Jared, but I've met friends of his. I mean,
Yeah.
So I've never met him personally.
I've just, for some reason, I thought I'd seen you guys at a thing talking together. Maybe obviously
we've been at places together, and I just never spoke to him because I'm talking to him about just getting some of his coffee in a gift pack as a raffle item.
Oh yeah,
at our events. I'm like, hey, the other coffee company that went mainstream, I forgot the name. That went mainstream and kind of sold the Second Amendment down the river, or it became not important to them.
Well, they started
has done some questions
paying for Hillary or something, right?
Yeah. They started doing some questionable stuff that just doesn't seem real pro 2A, but works for their business, and they're making tons of money because of it, but they made a choice. Well, I don't really want to promote them. And if I have somebody, not only do I know 2 of the people behind the company, but they're definitely pro 2A, why wouldn't I want to be involved with them getting their product in front of others?
I hear that.
And
they've been good to people.
There you go. And I never even thought about it, but yeah, I mean, maybe I could be they could buy it through our website one day. I don't know, but I just looked at it as getting something to give people at my events that isn't a firearm or a knife or something like that they could probably use.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the kind of thing, a bag of coffee is the kind of thing that even if you're not a coffee drinker, you probably know somebody that you can re-gift it to. So
yeah, you can re-gift it. You can bring it to work.
Marketing, so it works on both angles.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's true too. Bring it to work and have it busted open and let everybody drink out of it for a few days. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden, a pro 2A group is at your work that ain't even pro 2A, but they like that. That coffee was freaking good. How much was it? Where do I get it?
Like the gun stuff. Yeah, if they're just interested in the coffee flavor. Yeah, that's a great idea.
All right, what's next? What's up on here? No way. All right, that's Mike from USCCA. and he
Okay.
did a lot of things on marketing and how to market. This is some of the drills. Actually, that's Maria and that's Patrick Collins from Gun Food. They're on the line. That's Chris Lyle, and that's wound packing. So that's a silicone block, and you're packing the wound to actually try to stop an arterial bleed. Oh, that was rough. That was
Everybody
sticking a
did that.
tube. No, everybody didn't do it. They showed us how to do it. And that's a lot of lubricant you put on that to run that in someone's airway to get them to breathe, to open up the air passage.
Yeah, nasal pharyngeal. You're gonna shove it down there and go past the tongue, essentially. So
Uh-huh.
obviously, this guy was okay with people jamming it down there. Did everyone jam
Yeah,
it down with somebody? Did you practice
no,
jamming it in with somebody? Okay.
no, they just showed us that because, I mean, look, some stuff you're going to have to take a class. So that's Clayton from Pivotal Defense out of Minnesota. And he's actually an instructor for this course in Minnesota. And he took it from, that's the instructor, Mike from USCCA. And Mike is putting it in because they know each other and obviously trust each other.
Yeah, essentially, it's annoying. You have to cram it in there and find a bigger hole. So you're going to twist it around a little bit. And once you know what you're doing, it's like anything. But the first couple of times you do it, you're going to be like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but now,
I,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know
you
where the
have to
hole
make
is, but I'm going to find it. I'm sorry.
sure. Sounds familiar. Sounds like prom night. But um, when you have the instructor and who's an experienced professional EMT for decades, and you have the student who's also an instructor and has done this, so you got one that knows what to expect and the other one knows what to do, so it looks effortless. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, I hear you. But the thing is, seeing it is always different than seeing the still picture is different than seeing it happen. So I can understand. I don't know. There's lots of, we could go a whole nother show about my philosophy on medical training, but
Hmm.
essentially you've got I guess you could be like, I don't care about medical training. Somebody else has to worry about that. Somebody owes me knowing about medical training. Like there's those people
Hmm.
that just don't even care. And then there's people that try to learn everything. And I can see that. I understand that. Right. And then there's people on the spectrum in between. So somewhere in there, you're going to get people that want to touch everything, like understand everything, but then I don't know, like there's overcautious people and then there's people with a lot of experience, and both of them might hesitate to say, everybody in the class jam this tube into everybody's nose. But then there's a whole lot of medics and people that maybe people, I'm going to say with medium experience, or like people that have real life experience and they understand that you're probably not going to kill each other doing this. You might bother somebody's nasal thing. You might give them potentially a disease. Somebody dropped this thing or coughed on it. But for the most part, AMT students do it all to each other all the time because we have to, and then you start doing it to real people, so it happens constantly. So it's not like it's a major thing. But anyway, I'm always curious. Like I'm with firearms training. Maybe it's maybe it's similar to a figure eight drill where you put up two targets like in the bay somewhere, and then people are going to walk in front of one target and behind the other target and then in front, and it gives a student the ability to kind of learn how to walk around a piece of cover or around an obstacle while still having to keep an attention downrange. So it's a pretty dynamic thing for most classrooms, and there's a lot of instructors that'll say it's never necessary in any kind of first or second level class. So that's one of those like pieces of things that I always take a look at when I'm looking at a class curriculum or something, like how advanced do they go? Because it's real easy to wow students by showing them really advanced shit. And sometimes that's no big deal. And other times it's like, well, you told them a lot of stuff. Like let's say oxygen, for example, is a way better one. I don't know how many people know this, but you definitely just don't want to give oxygen to everybody. Like old people can die from pure oxygen and babies can die from pure oxygen. So that's why they don't give EMTs oxygen. That's why paramedics have oxygen. It is a drug. So people get their hands on an oxygen tank and go, it's good for me. It must be good for everybody. It's not that big a leap to think that, right? Like, but in reality, there's some issues. And that's where, with some of this stuff, I can see where some people are going to go, oh man, you can't even touch the concept with regular people. You've got to be in an emergency EMT class and be spending, 16 hours worth of valid curriculum to understand the significance of this shit. But on the other hand, again, there's all these different levels. So that's, I think, showing it to people is a valid way of, again, like seeing this picture is like, oh, that's crazy, but you have no idea how long that tube is, and no idea how comfortable it is. I mean, compared to all the other things that can happen, how comfortable it is relatively for the person, the patient, and how immediate that's going to keep them alive, because we don't get to go very long without breathing. So anyway, I just think that's an interesting tangent, I
So
guess.
I think I 100% agree with you because I've been blessed to be able to take this. I took the medical and the Ambassador Academy in February. I took this, obviously, same thing last year and this year. And it's decent. It's good. It's not a full blown class, but here's my opinion. You spend $70, $80 on a good trauma kit. If you can take some training, cool. But how's this? Get the trauma kit in your vehicle. Get the trauma kit in your car. Take it, have one at work. Even if you're not the person that applies it, if you're the first person to a car wreck and can keep your head about you and just get people to sit down and be calm, sooner or later, somebody with some medical experience may come along and they might not have anything on. They might just be running late for work or running out to go get, the kids a snack or something. And there's a friggin' emergency room nurse. But she's got the skill set, you got the trauma set. I'm just saying, take the steps because you never know who you'll run into or come by an emergency. And the thing that I've learned about firearms instructor from doing it myself and trying to have a first aid class is gun people won't freaking come unless you tie it to the gun, unless you somehow tie a trauma class into a gun class in some way. I was able to do it with an active shooter class combined with a trauma class because they can make the leap. If you're at an active shooter scene and you stop the bad guy because you're John freaking Wick, what are you going to do now that you've stopped the killer, but you got 15 wounded people? Do you even know how to pack a wound, calm people down, talk to people, do anything?
Well, the thing is,
So
I don't have
that's
time for that because I'm running off to disarm a bomb right after that. But I hear you, for all the people that clean up, they should know how to do all that stuff.
yeah. And I'm like, what if it's your family member that's hurt? So we kind of have to trick people into coming to a medical class because they can't see it. I'm like, you've driven past way more car accidents than you've driven past shootings and things like that. You can help and be an asset by having your training or at least your ability to, I've seen this before. You're going to be okay. Have a seat. Don't run around like a chicken with their head cut off. I'll call 911 for you. You just remain calm.
Oh, yeah, that's a big part of it. Again, just seeing, knowing that, hey, there's a way to stop bleeding, like an arterial bleed or a bleed that pumps out of you like a drinking fountain. Like that can be scary as shit if you've never seen it before, if only seen it on movies or whatever. And of course, in movies, that's a death sentence or usually, right? Or it's fake and they touch it and it's gone, so whatever, but it's unrealistic in the movie. So yeah, just understanding or having a class that at least addresses it so that once you do first, like you just said, learn how to take a minute and get back to calm so that you can start thinking about things real and or in step by step, and you start to think about, oh yeah, there is a way to stop bleeding, even the worst bleeding. Like there's pretty much a way to stop all bleeding on the person. You just have to think about it for a second and then do it, start applying pressure or stopping that bleeding. But we're definitely clicking on too much stuff. I'm gonna keep going. That's all from
all right. So
you do get
that
to
was the
see
medical class
going in there. He doesn't keep it in there very long. Keep
all right.
boob on your head.
That's a boob implant. That's something else I learned, actually. Lewis from Tactical, James Yeager.
Tactical response.
What? Thank you. Tactical Response with the company. Lewis from Tactical Response. They're one of their instructors. This is his second year being there, and he actually had these in his kit to help cool you down.
Oh,
And he was like, dude, these things, one, they don't melt. And once they cool, they stay cool for a long time because I was burning up. And he was like, no, check it out. And I'm like, I put that on my head. I was uncomfortably warm, cooled me right down. Like just made it not even be distracting a little bit.
Yeah, putting it underneath
So
your chin, that would work too. Like get it underneath your neck.
uh-huh.
But
On the
yeah,
back
those
of your neck.
I bet you they're really similar to those like gel things you jam in a freezer and they freeze up, and then
Yeah.
you can put them in boiling water and they heat up. You know, that kind of stuff. I bet you it's kind of similar.
I mean, it's silicone. I don't know if it's saline or silicone, but it's 500 cc's,
No, I think they're
and
saline
pretty
because
much,
silicone is the ones that broke and had problems, right?
yeah,
I think they're all saline
yep.
now. So
hmm In America, they're all saline, but yeah, I was able to put it on
these are
and just
like
cool
demos or
myself.
something, like or are they just expired ones?
Uh, they were, yeah, I think they were expired. He got them from some like a rep that was
Yeah,
taking one of their classes.
that's pretty interesting. I
Yep,
never thought of. I'm gonna keep an eye out now for old boobs, for old used
yep,
boobs.
old boobs, and it was just you keep them cold and they just maintain that temperature. It was great. Highly recommend. We'll do it again.
Here you got the rifles.
So that's some of the content I created with Ken running down this rifle optic. That's Jared and I last day, right before he punched his freaking phone number into my thing. They were just running, so I wasn't. I was again. My knee was jacked, so I missed watching them run it. I should have got more film of them running. If my knees weren't effed up, I would have. And they actually, those guys all had their vehicles broken into in the parking lot.
Wait, what? At Greenwood or somewhere else? At the hotel?
Nope, at the hotel. At the hotel, we didn't
I
know this, and
seen
this
that
is important.
Jared posted about it. I didn't know it was at Train and Learn. That's crazy.
12, 12 vehicles got broken into, and they got 4 firearms.
Huh.
Um, one of our guys, and the thing is, I think they only got 2 firearms from my guys, and then the others were from people that actually parked down there because we're in Georgia. Our guys had their firearms locked up in a case with the metal wire around it. The people that broke in actually had bolt cutters. It
Huh.
was pre-planned, and this is what I learned. My sister-in-law lives in Atlanta, so she knows the deal that's going on and what's happening locally. And it's a big thing in hotels that these guys are breaking into vehicles looking for firearms specifically. And we all feel that this was an inside job because they targeted vehicles from Train and Learn.
Hmm.
Now, I
Well,
told you
when you
about
say
all.
inside job, it wouldn't be that hard for somebody who's worth the shit in their brain to pay attention to stuff like this and then go, hey, there's pretty good odds. You
No,
know, if we looked at all the hotels in town, we might find these guys. That
no,
kind of thing.
rooms were broken into also.
Oh, okay. So that's
Yeah,
more
rooms were
more
broken into
deliberate,
also.
like they know who people are. Type of
And the
thing.
cameras turned off right before the cars got broken into. Somehow
Oh,
the power went down. Yeah, yeah. I mean, immediately after hearing one, two, and
so
three, you're like,
not
okay,
inside job like people at the class, but inside job people
no.
at the hotel.
At the hotel, we all 100% felt someone at the hotel was in on it because the vehicle's targeted, because the cameras went down like minutes before the cars got broken into, and also 3 rooms, maybe even 4, because I think someone was in my room also, got broken into.
Well, then I'd like to think that we'll have a future episode where we're chatting about, oh, they found that guy and he's going to jail, or that chick for
I,
going to jail.
I really hope so, because it sucks. It kind of could taint a thing, but none of us, we all realize this just happens. It's outside a major metropolitan city, and this is something that's happening. And he's going to put things in place that will have a more difficult time happening next time.
Yep.
So
Train and
something
learn, right?
happened. Yep, train and learn. And of course, right there, there's a picture of Sean, Mr. Beth Alcazar, and his carbine, which I thought was pretty cool. I really hope next year, though, they do break it up according to experience levels, um, because you could jump ahead. You could really jump ahead,
Oh,
and
was
that's
it
coming
raining
just
in that picture?
It was going. Oh yeah, in that picture he's in. Yeah. We
Yeah.
were in the rain.
So this one, let's see. I don't know. We're just randomly hitting your
Hmm.
stories now. So I don't know where to stop because I think it was in KD's pictures, but I'm sure in one of these I'll be able to stop. I just don't know exactly where. But um, what I've noticed is when you look at like a shot from far away and you can see people's feet like this. If that
Hmm.
was mud, there'd be mud all over the place from your knees down, right? Like this is
Yep.
definitely not messy at all. Like that for when you look at it, like you're saying, that looks like, oh man, that's going to be muddy and slippery as shit. But if it
Sand.
was raining, yeah, that's like a beach
That's
essentially.
sand. Yeah, that's sand, and my rental vehicle is full of it. I just left it in Pennsylvania.
Uh,
It was like, "Are you going to clean this?" And I'm like, "No, no," because I gave everybody a ride because my knees were jacked up. I gave everyone a ride from one area to the other, and if they wanted it. All right, go down to my next one, which is the Beretta picture.
this one or this
Nope,
one?
not that. No, that's for the show. Yeah, all right, that's the Beretta 92X that Ken had there. You can see the flag says Primary Arms on it. He had it there with the optic, and you can see the optic actually has like a 30 something MOA circle around it. And when I cut over here to what it looks like POV, you can see that circle. And I let it settle because I'm shooting it one handed in one photo and two handed in the other one. Um, you can see that big circle, and it helps you find where the small dot is. And I thought that was pretty cool because again, I'm not trained on using a dot on a handgun, and it almost made me seem halfway competent because all you have to do is get the trigger screws right. You're going to shoot wherever the dot is when that shot broke.
That's why they're cheater dots. That's why they're called cheater dots. They're like having training wheels.
Yeah, they're really good. And Ken was like, "Well, it's more than just training wheels." According to him, he was like, "If you're in an unusual position,
Hmm.
you get that thing aimed up, and it at least tells you where. If you're not in alignment with your body from a regular shooting position around cover, and you just have your head sticking around and your arm kind of, the same thing people said using a laser at closer distances, but from like behind a couch." Where you can snake your hand underneath, but your head's up top, you can kind of use the laser to put it. All right, the laser's on their chest. Bow. Even though my arm's over here and I'm not even behind the weapon. Kind of sort of the same thing with this. If you're not centered up in a great position, you can work it around and you see what the dot is and you can get it on target. Because I don't think it had co-witness eye of sights. So that was interesting. And again, even if you're not and you just want to check it out, it's there for you to use. Show up with a bag of ammo, grab the damn thing, and go shoot it.
Yeah.
Film content if you want. If somebody else is waiting for it, of course, don't be a jerk off.
Oh,
But
I got a question. Drones. Was there any
yeah,
drones? Anybody flying drones?
yeah. Kev had a drone there. Kev was taking a video with a drone. I'm sure others can be there. He had a drone at the very first one. I got a video with that. The drone was filming me shoot the first John Wick Terran tactical gun
Right on.
in 2019.
So where is this on the property? Is this like in the center, on the edge? Can you tell?
As you come into the property, as you go in deeper, I think it's probably much in the middle because he told me when we weren't shooting, you can go behind the berm and actually do content creation back behind the berm too. He's like, there's another dozen acres or even more behind the
Oh.
berm that you can work.
So this is going to loop right there, or whatever the gun. There's a car out there. Is that for shooting in and
Mhm.
around, or is that somebody's
Yep.
car?
They didn't bring it out, but yeah, I think it's a shooting around because I didn't really see anybody driving it.
Okay.
Like,
That's cool.
you know what
It's
I mean?
nice to have a couple of
Yeah.
wrecked cars or abandoned vehicles at a range to be able to do that with.
Yep. Run things with.
Did everybody stay at the hotel, or did people do alternative?
People stayed at different hotels, but that was the hotel a majority of us stayed in, which was cool. Again, it gives you a
an
chance.
RV. He'd let you stay at the place.
Yep, I think so.
Okay.
Because my co-host, I don't know, my co-host actually on the Gun and Gear Review podcast was talking about bringing his down.
Okay.
and staying at the property. But you'd have to talk to KD about that. But I think it's cool because again,
Sounds
they
like
have
that's room
enough of
for
it.
it, though.
Yeah, I mean, he
And
has
it doesn't
enough
seem like
property.
it's exactly, and it's not like it's muddy so that you get stuck in there or nothing, and you have to worry about.
Yeah, and his road is paved going down. He has a paved road onto his property to the main area, which is where we're shooting at right now. That's the main area, so it has a paved road that you can get to that area. And then the offshoot ranges don't have a paved road yet, but it's a work in progress. I mean, it's a brand new range on 40 acres.
Do you have any idea how long he scraped that off? How long is that going to last him in Georgia?
But don't know. No clue.
I get the impression that if you just sat there and did nothing, it would just grow full of grass again in like 5 minutes.
Oh, heck yeah. Even though that's sandy
Well, you know
soil,
what's
I
cool?
think.
They don't have kudzu. I'm used to looking at pictures, or at least my experience driving. Maybe that's because I'm near the highways all the time, and it happens by the highways more. But there was like kudzu everywhere. This is real trees. You can see all the different kind of trees. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I liked it there. It was good. I mean, I was a country boy and I grew up in this environment, so it was nothing weird about it or strange about it to me.
It looks
Um,
normal, except for the humidity. I think it's a lot more humidity than where I grew up. But yeah, it looks normal. And then,
yeah,
um, oh, I was gonna say, is this like you said? It's an hour from Georgia or from Atlanta, but is it
yep.
like out in the middle of nowhere, or is it like next door there's a big
Mm-mm.
industrial thing, or down the street there's a school? Like, is it close to stuff, or is it far away from everything?
It's like close enough but far away. Okay.
Are you
We
hearing anything else out there? Like, are you hearing construction and cars, or is it
No,
quiet out there? Okay.
no, it's off one of the exits that gives you a country road, but it also has like we're on this road to his range for about 10 minutes, if not less, from the main highway,
Okay.
main interstate, not just main highway, interstate. So going back up, there was a major truck stop.
Okay.
There was a Waffle House. There were businesses. There were industrial stuff. But 10 minutes down the road, it's training line.
Okay. And
Reason
then
being because I
it's
was
not like
feeling
farm
woozy.
shit.
Yeah, it was what it was. It was Sunday. It was the last day. It was winding up, and the heat had finally gotten to me, and I was just not feeling it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And my I'm a diabetic, and my glucose reader actually stopped working. The thing fell off. I have a Freestyle Libre. It fell off, and I didn't have another one. Where somebody there said, "I got one, but it's at my house over an hour away." I was like, "Cool." He gave me the address. I was like, "I'll meet you there." I went to the again. I didn't even say bye to everybody. I just learned this term, Irish goodbye. I guess that means when you leave a party without telling everybody. Never heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I knew if I would have taken the time to say bye to everyone, I'd be there another half hour, and I was really feeling bad. And I didn't want to, tell everybody I was feeling bad. So I just jumped in the car and rolled out. And I wasn't gone 15 minutes before my phone started blowing up. Hey, where the hell did you go? I'm like, I'm down the road 10 minutes. I was feeling woozy. I got some water. I'm in the AC, and I'm going to take off. So I did. I went to Atlanta. I got the thing from my another Freestyle Libre thing, popped it on my arm. And I thought I was just going to keep going in the same direction as Atlanta to go to where my wife was. No, no, no. I had to turn back around and drive right past where the range was. So
Oh
I
shit.
contacted so I contacted all the guys. I was like, hey, where's everybody? Oh, we're having dinner. So I actually stopped, had dinner, and got to say goodbye to mostly alumni, Kevin, and all the guys uh, officially at dinner. So that was pretty cool.
Right on. Yeah, that's cool. Because that's a big part of it, is the kind of like say before stuff and the after stuff.
So one of the things I wish I would have done. Okay, so you see the day she's shooting guns and stuff. I think yeah, those are all of mine. Okay, that was Sunday, and that was the day you get to create content. Um, a lot of the guys there were at the end of the parking lot, so across a bunch of broken ground, and they were BSing under 10. Now, I showed up with Clayton from Pivotal Defense, he was like, I have all these things in my head I want to get done today. So you're going to go to the range? I was like, I'm going to the range right away because I want to get stuff done too. So boom, we get to the range. He jumps out, takes off. I jump out, hobble off. Well, I do my interviews. I get my pictures taken. He does multiple interviews and then comes back through and does an interview with me. Between the two of us, we got like 6 interviews done. I got 2 new sponsors all before 12. I'm talking from 9 to 12 on Sunday. I look in the corner and they got some of the new guys. And at the end, it's like 75 yards away. And I'm looking, I'm like, they're wasting time. Now, if my knees weren't jacked up, I probably would have walked over there and was like, hey, fellas, check it out. This is stuff you could still be doing because they were waiting to interview like one person. But it's like 6 of you. Interview each other. Talk about where you come from. Create that content of who you're hanging out with at the range. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways to create content, even if you don't shoot. Run down your EDC, what you bring to the event. All that stuff is stuff you can actually talk about on your channel because people will be interested in what you brought to a class and what your firearms instructor buddy who you just met from Alaska brought to the class, or what the dude that came in from California, this California legal, brought to the class in Georgia.
Yeah, you start
Like
asking
all of
everybody that, and then you ask 10 people. That's a 10-week series you've got.
How's this? Yeah, what you bring to the class? All right, cool. And this is what we did at diversity shoots. Hey, knives out. What's your EDC knife? What are you packing today? That could be a whole thing. Why did you get this? It was the cheapest thing at the gas station, dude. I don't care one way or the other. Or I'm 100% in the knives and I love, American made Kershaw USA knives. Cool. All that stuff is stuff you can create. And that's what I would have told them. And I felt I kind of failed them in that. I mean, as an alumni, I should have said something and I did. And I feel kind of bad about that. And that was pretty much the only thing event wise, I wish I could have got a redo on.
Oh, that sounds. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but all things considered, that's fairly mild.
Oh yeah,
bad.
oh yeah,
negative.
it is.
So,
Yeah, I'm not going, hey, look, I'm great. I was just like, dang, dude. Hey, fellas,
No,
this is an opportunity.
And that's when something isn't what's the word? Not scripted, but like there's not an itinerary syllabus, maybe like when when it's not completely broken down to like, because you've been to events where there's like we have this for 5 minutes, we have this for 5 minutes, we have this for 7 minutes, you have a break for 4 minutes, and then there's this for 5 minutes. It's like, all right, you just know right away, like, okay, I'm gonna be missing most of this. So where's the 5 things I want to hit? So it's well, experience, I guess. And then everybody's got their own motivations too.
Yeah, and that's good. Everybody's got to learn also. Sometimes experience kicking you in the butt, going, man, I wasted time that time. I am not doing that again. At any event I go to, I'm not wasting that much time. So I had fun. I hope other people had fun too. And
I think I've talked about it. At least I've thought about it, brought it up before. I don't know if we talked about it specifically, but like I think there's a cycle or at least a loop that you go through when you first start to create content. Like once you create it, then you start to get some feedback, and there's going to be different hurdles that everyone's going to go through. Like things like your first 100 subs, your first 1,000 subs, and whatever they're called, followers or listeners or whatever it happens to be on whatever you're creating. At some point, you're going to be like, everybody. Like, hey, it's 7 people, and they've been here since the beginning. I know all 7 people. And then it's like, okay, it's 17 people, and I know 7 of them in here since the beginning. And then now it's going to change because there's no way they're exactly the same. So now there's 5 of those 7 people, and it's like 3 of those 10 original people, and then I know these 30 people and then it's just change, and then you'll be at 70,000 subs, and you're going to have this different appreciation. So I think one of the things is selfies. Like there's that. This is what I was getting at in that lifespan or life cycle of a content creator. Everyone's done it. Every single person I know, including myself, even though it only lasted for me 2 selfies before I quit doing it. But everybody's got this phase. One of the phases is oh man, I'm standing next to so and so. I'm going to make a thing about this. And then after a while, you go figure out like, oh, so and so is just a regular person. And anytime I want to, I can talk to so and so. And then you kind of feel like, for me, I was like, oh, I feel like an idiot that I was like, hey, can I take a picture with you? I feel like a weirdo. So, especially once you know everybody. So I don't do that anymore. Now it's more of a thing because it's like a social business card almost thing. For a while there, it was like a fan thing. And anyway, so all I'm getting at is that it might be something like that where, it's definitely important to people to get a bunch of selfies when they're kind of new, and everybody's going to dip into that more than others. But like I've seen people go to SHOT Show for 2 years and do nothing but get selfies, and it's like I'm not going to bother telling you all the stuff you're missing because it's fucking SHOT Show. Like everybody's missing everything. Like there's just no way to win. It's just that you decided to go there and stand in line and miss a bunch of shit. Like, and then you look at somebody else and go like, well, you got a lot of patches, or you got a lot of business cards, or you got a lot of contacts. Like, well, I didn't stand in line getting selfies from like 3 people, but you know what? You did. So now you got your selfies, and like, next year you can decide what's more important to you. But like it's got that phase, I guess.
Actually, I didn't go through the wait in line phase because I'm like, there's way too much going on for me to stand around here. Again, if I went to NRA show, just as a dude that was an NRA member and wanted to see NRA show, and I saw Arlie Army, yeah, I'd wait in line.
Right. And so meanwhile, people waited in that line. Nobody like that's a badge of honor to have waited in that line because he was cool, and so many like Marines wanted to. I mean, there's a whole different level for you guys meeting him because he was such a real dude. But yeah, that's the kind of thing where I'm thinking, and actually, I'm not even thinking that. I'm thinking more like people that would wait in line to hang out with you or Jared or somebody and get a selfie, like a regular person type of selfie. But I've seen people, YouTubers that we all know, spend like an entire SHOT Show essentially waiting in line to get a picture with Miklik, and Miklik will never remember them. And it's just that they wanted to do it because they got to meet Miklik for the first time. And then you fill in the blank with whoever, because there's a whole spectrum of people. And sometimes it's 2A people, sometimes it's gun people, and sometimes it's just famous people, because you get like Lou Ferrigno there and stuff like that. And some people are like, oh shit, I just met Lou Ferrigno, I can get a picture with the Hulk and shit. Other people don't do it.
Yeah, because I'm sitting there again, because I'm at SHOT Show, I'm at NRA for different reasons, and I didn't stop ever to get a photo with Arlie Army. Do I wish I would have taken the time out? No, I mean, still don't. It would have been cool, I guess.
It's a lot of cost, right? It's a lot of opportunity cost, or whatever that word is. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm looking at. It like in the 2 hours it took. Let's go ahead and put it like this: in the 2 hours it took to talk to him, things have happened at NRA. Like I ran into Cam Edwards, and he invited me to do an interview that played for like a year on NRA TV. While I was walking through NRA, I ran into the Henry booth and ended up getting in the Henry commercial in like 2017 or 2016 that played for an entire year. There's me, Tony Simon, in the Henry commercial talking about using them to train classes with lever actions. So what of that would I want to give up so I could take a selfie with a famous dude? Not really, no. I mean, it's great that he was an icon to the core. And truthfully, I could stand in front of the line and take a picture with him over my shoulder signing stuff. Same, in my opinion. But yeah, I took some pictures. And plus, you bump into people all the time. I have a picture of me and Hickok. I've not gone back to look at that picture, and I think I posted it like the day after, and I really didn't give a shit after that I had a picture with Hickok. I thought it was cooler years later as I'm an advocate in 2020, and I'm on stage with his son sitting beside me as we're talking about unity and bringing the firearms community together and how to grow it.
You talking about that Modus thing at SHOT Show? Yeah,
Modus thing was SHOT Show. Hiccup's son was sitting beside me. John was sitting beside me because he was adding, and on the other side was Eric, from IV 88. But Eric was there. And Eric and I had conversation over breakfast in 2019 after the DC rally. So it was on a whole different level of meeting these dudes in 2020 as opposed to, I think it was 2016, when I ran in Hickok and like had a fanboy 7 seconds because I got to take a picture with a dude who's on YouTube, which
Like I
I
said,
kind
that's
of
just
don't fanboy
fate
on.
with everybody. I
Yep.
think it's just like I say, a matter of how long you stay there, or if like you decide to make it a hobby. Because there's some people that collect selfies, like I collect patches. Like they're free and you
Hmm.
can, and it's fun, and
Hey,
you technically have
knock
met the
yourself.
person. Yeah,
But when we're on that clock, when we're on that event clock, like you said, um, time's a burning, baby. You have to make it worthwhile, and it's not all about, hey, I got to meet this person, I got to meet this person. It's building relationships too. Yeah, you drop by the booth and you say hello to someone because you met them at Train and Learn. Hey, what's up, man? How have you been? You know, you talk to Ken, you talk to uh, Roy Hill over at Bownell's back in the day before he left the company, just to say hi. I'm not asking for anything. Hey, what's up, Roy? Good to see you again. And BS for a little bit. Maybe even take a picture because this dude's actually a friend of yours now, or that you ran into, or in the alumni of Train and Learn, and you freaking take a picture of it and post a picture up hashtag Train and Learn 2024. Why not? That's the kind of thing I'm doing now. And who knows what I'll be in 5 years. You know what I mean? I might be that dude who's running around trying to be incognito like Coleon Noir, trying to get from point A to point B. Or what's that guy's name? Grand Thumb. I watch him damn near sprint through Shot Show because so many people know him that he can't get to meetings on time.
it's been
It
like
is what
that
it
since
is.
the beginning. I mean, it's been like that since before YouTube with what's his face with the white hair and well, what's his name that ran me over, and then Arlie Ermy.
Hmm.
Uh, those guys could never do nothing. So I mean, that's just always been a thing, and we've had very
Hmm.
few famous, whatever you want to call, like identities in the community. At least back in the day, there was even fewer, but even now,
Ted Nugent.
yeah, that guy, he ran me over at 2009, so I never liked that guy. But yeah, I mean, he has a whole entourage of like 16 giant dudes that like push people over just so that he doesn't have to talk to people because of
Wow.
that whole issue. At least in
That sucks.
2019. No, not 2019. What am I saying? 2009. He it when yeah, 9. It was NRA. That was my first NRA show here in Phoenix. And I was like, oh, the NRA show is like SHOT Show. Shit, I'm gonna start going to the NRA show. But I was Bill Baby G Webs, right? Going to SHOT Show.
Hmm.
And that year, that was the first. So 2009 SHOT Show. I go up there. It's in Phoenix, so it's an hour away. So I go
Hmm.
up there Friday, let's say, and I go, oh shit, this is just like SHOT Show. So I come home, Joe. I go to Joe. I'm like, hey, dude, it's just like SHOT Show. Come up there with me and bring Angie. So we go. 3 of us go up there the next day, and this was 2009. And I go, let's see if we can do this like SHOT Show. Go around. I told Joe, just go around and get guns. Just ask everybody you see for guns. See what happens. Because we wanted to play.
Hmm.
I always wanted to play around with stuff like that. So yeah, he went around in 2009, and I think there was like Sig, and no, Sig was cool with it. It was somebody else at that size though, like something like HK, let's say, probably HK, and somebody else were like no. Everybody else was like, yeah, where do you want them? So it was that easy to get guns in 2009. I mean, we
Hmm.
were also the biggest YouTube channel, right? I think, except for
Hmm.
Nothing Fancy. So but I was like, hey, let's see what happens. And I didn't take them up on it. I didn't get any guns because I didn't know what to do with them, and we didn't have our shit together. But it was interesting. So anyway, it was just me, and I was running around doing the same thing with knives, and we did get a bunch of knives though, because
Hmm.
you don't need an FFL, and it was a lot easier to
Yeah,
deal with.
transfer fees and all
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
and plus they can just give you knives. Like, hey, can you give us knives for our channel? And YouTube was very new, so in 2009 still. So anyway, but the long story short is I was just baby G Webs, just cutting my teeth with figuring out that like you could walk up to booths and make relationships with companies or whatever. And I'm super happy, and I'm walking out of the it's some kind of convention center, I guess, up in Phoenix. It might be a sports thing. I don't know Phoenix enough, but it's right in the middle of town, and it's right next to a sports thing. If it isn't the actual sports thing, like it might be some
Hmm.
part of a sports building that I don't know, because I was only in the one big room. And I'm walking out and walking towards the escalators, and all of a sudden, I get molested. I get marauded by like just hundreds, like 12 dudes start smashing onto me and stepping on me. getting jackbooted, and then I look around and I barely get to make out before I get stepped on again. That Mr. Ted Nugent is standing in the midst of these people, these thugs, and then because I had the audacity to try to push a door open and get out, and then like smashed into the. I've never been abused in such a way before. That this many years later, I'm still traumatized by it. It's my own PTS. But yeah, so that's when I figured out like celebrities are assholes. Like, what the hell, man? Like, seriously, at NRA show, you're gonna treat people like this, and I'm just. I was kind of like I'm making it obviously joke out of it, but I was sort of standing by myself in the middle of nowhere, walking out of like imagine a bank of 8 doors, and I'm like, I pick a door. There's no one there. There's me and nothing else, and I pick a door, and all of a sudden there's like 12 dudes smashing me out of the way to use the door I opened, out of like 1,000 doors that you could open, and I'm like, what an asshole! Like he's either a dick. I mean, it's like just doesn't give a shit, or those guys are a dick and you don't give it like. But there was no reason to like just smash into me, and then not even to say nothing. Just like all of a sudden I'm being smashed into by a bunch of people. I mean, they're lucky. Well, you know what I mean, like that I was like not a dick, right? Because I could have.
Well, that's most people aren't dicks. Yeah, most people aren't dicks. So you just got assaulted, and they know that most people aren't going to do anything because there's like 12 of them.
I figure he's an asshole, and they're taking it out on me because they can't take it out on their boss, right? So I figure that's a dick. But
because I had Trump security do that to me at NRA. I was in a room. I was meeting with guys I knew. I'm not going to name anybody's name, but these were some press guys, who are in media. So I stopped, and all of a sudden, I just get friggin' Heisman Trophy straight armed in the middle of my back. Well, I have a backpack on most of the time, so I spot being a bigger guy, having a backpack on. I thought I bumped into someone else. So I turn around to apologize, and then dude like straight arms me in the chest. And it's some of I don't know who, but this was security, executive protection types in suits with earpieces. And I was like, dude, I just stepped back. I'm like, y'all gonna run into somebody that's not kind, because
or that just has reflexes and doesn't realize like, oh shit, this was not somebody trying to attack me, because they're
well, that's what I'm saying. Somebody that all of a sudden feels an arm in the back and spins around and throws an elbow because their first thing is I'm under attack. Remember, I work in a prison, but sometimes I'm able to kind of tone that radar down. But yeah, if you walk up behind me and grab me at work, you're catching an elbow. You know what I mean? My alert level is pretty much as high as you can get without being a paranoid schizophrenic, because I'm surrounded by people that have been convicted and put away for a minimum of 15 years. I'm not playing with you.
I've watched a couple of YouTube videos recently about prisons, so I feel like I know exactly what it's like at your work now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. YouTube conveys exactly what it's like. But it's like, okay. And it's funny because you do have to tone it down, but I can't turn it off. But I'm in a place with 80,000 people over a 4-day period. You're gonna bump into people, and you have to take it into account. And you bumping into me inside the NRA convention is different than you bumping into me one street away from the NRA convention. You know what I mean? I'm on a different level of alert at the NRA convention on the streets. And
that's true. Yeah, you're not expecting to get in any kind of altercation like in a building like that. Like, you're not like
in a building.
And that's what happened to me too. Is like, I'm just like, what the hell? And I just thought it was super rude. Or like,
because in that environment, there's no reason for them to actually put their hands on you. There's no one attacking Ted Nugent for that cat scratch fever money. Or Smoke on the Water, or whatever one song that I can remember he did. I don't even know what song he did.
I don't know either. Yeah, he wasn't somebody that I listened to.
The bad man from Detroit.
And I didn't even know about him until he kept showing up and everything. And, that happened, of course. But, I didn't, like you say, I didn't listen to his music or nothing. But then he kept showing up like, oh, he's a hunter. He's a hunter.
I know somebody's going to go nuts in the comment section because I didn't get Ted Nugent's playlist right. Listen, the only madman I know from Detroit now is Eminem. How's that? Now be real mad. Now be real mad. But train and learn is a very important thing, I think, if you're anywhere in the industry and you want to network or grow or even learn about how things run in the industry, I think is important. Um, in past years at the range, we've had uh, competitive shooters and we've had trainers that are international trainers. We had Rob Pincus at 2022 or 23. I don't know. The list of trainers that has given us an hour and a half to 2 hours of instruction is pretty impressive. I feel because you get like three or four of them in a day that you get to go through this under their tutelage. Now you're talking to them, you got their phone number. You know when they're around, you can converse with them, hit them up with a DM on
Well,
their
I thought, I
IG.
mean, you've been in classes and then in train and learn. In a normal class,
Hmm.
the instructor is the instructor, and they're there. They prepared it. They've got all their shit going on. They paid for the insurance. They did all the stuff. It's their
Hmm.
range. Everything else they're dealing with to juggle. And then you're a student, and you're there, and you're doing a curriculum, and then you're gonna have some amount of chat during lunch or dinner or something, and then it's over. Where at train and learn, they're there to teach a block or whatever, but then the rest of the time
Hmm.
they're sitting with you as a participant in the lecture or as a participant in the
Hmm.
back and forth. So you get elbow to elbow, like in the lunchroom with the
Yep.
person kind of relationship more than the instructor student. What's that called? Like
Yeah.
transaction type of relationship.
Exactly. It's not even a business track because the instructor student is kind of a business transaction. So there's roles that you each playing. But
Right.
here at Train and Learn, one, again, like you said, it's not his range. He's not turning a profit on your money at all. So now, hey, the thing we were talking about at the range, when you're talking about punching out, we're sitting here over lunch sandwiches or over freaking scrambled eggs. You know what I mean? In the morning at the hotel, like an hour before the event is even going to kick off. So we just have plenty of time to BS. Yeah, talk about that. That's pretty cool. I appreciate that. Hey, did you see the game last night? Like it's a totally different dynamic. And I don't think people appreciate that. And the only other time I even came close to that was again a multi-day class and then going out with the guys afterwards. But it's like I've gone out with Rob Pincus after a class. But Rob was a friend of mine before I ever took a class. You know what I mean? So hanging out with him afterwards, I hang out with him multiple times a year. But to get to do that with a trainer and pick their brain, and also this, if you're a firearms instructor yourself, talking to a national level trainer, find out maybe you can get him to train in your area. How big of a class do I have to put together to host you? You come up with the range, they contact the range. You just have to come up with enough students to make it worthwhile for them to host in your area. And usually it's 10 people. It's not that big of a class. It's not like a 30-person class you have to put together for these
And
guys.
if you think about it from the business side of it, from an instructor side, you've got, let's say, a range or you've got your own facility, but most of the time you've got a range that you work at. And then, like you would do with the diversity shoot, you might have a couple of ranges, right? But
Hmm.
essentially, you've got the stuff you're tethered to because of you need a range, right? Unless you live out here,
Yep.
where I can go out in the multiple places in the national shared lands.
Hmm.
Anyway, so you've got that. So what's going to happen is you've got a whatever draw a circle around there, and you're going to have students that train more than once, and then students that train once. And you're going to have to reach out to all those people, and ideally, you get everybody that trains more than once coming back, and you get everybody that trains once to come in once. So if you
Hmm.
have a situation like that where you're saturated, or at least it's getting to be difficult to find any new students to come in or keep students coming back, you collaborate with another instructor. They have a chance to come shoot at your range. You go to shoot at their range. You both attract some of those new students because of whatever. Like I like your you shoot a decent caliber and they shot a 9mm, some of that kind of prejudiced or whatever. But then also just students that are like, yeah, I know how to shoot the way you shoot. I want to learn how the way she shoots or the way he shoots.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got that kind of revigorization of your returning students, but you also get a new set of new students potentially. And I think, that's another way to kind of inject new blood or keep the DNA going, because you are going to eventually wear out of students and whatever you're tethered to. And your only other option is to, really blast out marketing, come up with new ways to train, default to like the world's going to end, you got to train, or else, if you don't do it before tomorrow, something's going to happen, like that kind of bullshit. Or travel, and that can be expensive. So I think that's
and this is where I like to tell people the selfie comes in. So Rob and I are friends, but Rob is a national level instructor. Chris Costa, cool guy, well known in the firearms training industry, but also to dudes that are just on the periphery of it. You know what I mean? They, especially back in the Magpul days when the videos were out and they were all over YouTube and everybody was, taking clips.
Oh, I've trained.
I've
watched both DVDs.
Yeah, I've even watched the Shotgun DVD. But when you look at it that way and you take pictures and there's you with this national level, international level instructor, and now you're back home in your hometown. There's still people in your state, especially if you belong to groups and forums and stuff. And you go, hey, I'm putting together a Costa class, need 12 people. Well, now all of a sudden, the dudes who like take training or might have wanted to go and travel, but you're like, wait a minute, it's an hour away from my house, so I could skip over the hotel thing. So I only have to pay for the class and ammo?
Yeah, that's a big deal too.
Cool. Because the hotel is another $400, $500, for a 3-day training class. If you're flying in, that's another thing.
People that do that more than twice, you start to figure out that when you become a hub, Tucson's a hub for that. So that's why I know like tons of people come to Tucson to train, everybody, like all over the spectrum. At least not Tucson, Southern Arizona, but mostly Tucson. But anyway, that's how you get the opportunity to go hang out with them at dinner, because guess what? They're human beings. They still exist after class is over. So, if it's Moss, he's going to go drink a beer somewhere, a beer or two, going to bed. And, so you got that time to go eat with them and drink a couple of beers. So, if you want to have that experience with whoever it is, sometimes it's something else. If they don't drink or whatever, right? Maybe they play pool or I don't know, whatever. Everybody's got their own thing, right? But
whatever.
That's the opportunity to do that thing, is if they're in your town. So that's what happens, is the people that are the students encourage the new instructors to show up, and then those instructors enjoy their time there and they come back, and that's how you get repeat situation when everybody enjoys the thing, instead of the instructor showing up and going, okay, there's 5 o'clock, and then they're sitting at a hotel room for 3 hours being bored or clicking on Instagram alone in their hotel room. Why would they want to come back?
Exactly. And that's the dumbest thing as a trainer, if you're going to have a multi-day class or even have a class. I mean, that's why we tell the guys after diversity shoot, hey, we're smoking cigars in the parking lot. Or we find a restaurant to go to and all of us eat something, but it's like, you're free to come with us. One of those things I was told at one time to charge for that, to create another level to bring money into the diversity shoot.
The after shoot. Yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, maybe I think that might be a thing we can do
when you've
one
got so
day.
many people standing in the parking lot that people are like, what did you say? Like over 3 people's heads, and like people looking because they can't get out. Then maybe you take it somewhere and you say, hey, it's 25
maybe
bucks.
you take it somewhere.
Right?
Yeah, but until then, I think I like the decompression. And also, so you come and hang out at our diversity shoot. And this is stuff I picked up from everything we've done. But boom, 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 pew, pew, pew. We shoot. It was great. We had the food. We met everybody. All right, we ended up, hey, we going out in the parking lot, smoke cigars after it's over with. And if it's raining, we're going down the street to this restaurant. All right, cool. Well, there's a table with my instructors and maybe 4 people that decided to hang out afterwards. All right, cool. Guess what? Everybody's just human. The whole thing is about breaking bread. Now you're hanging out regardless of your race, gender, whatever. You're hanging out with us. That's all. What we did was just change up, and everybody's just normal, regular people. Understand what I'm doing is advocacy, though. But this could apply to you as an instructor. All of a sudden, hey, I hung out with my instructor. He's a pretty cool ass dude. Um, why don't I think my mom would like this class? Or, I'll call him up and let him know that, you guys are first time students. I'll go ahead and talk about one of the guys. He's a lawyer. He was going through law school for the first 4 years that I was doing diversity shoots. He kept telling me, man, I want to get to one of your events. As soon as I graduate, I'm coming to one of your events and I'm bringing my friend. Well, he talked about diversity shoot for 4 straight years with his friends. When he graduated, the very next diversity shoot, I had 6 brand new people that were from his class just because he talked about it so damn much. And it was just great having him to come out. Um, some stuff happened there that a couple of the people felt uncomfortable, but he came out and everybody learned something from that event, including some of our guys, how to deal with Muslim females. So I thought that was really cool.
If you could bottle that, that would solve so much shit. But it's not like you. I mean, I don't want to take away from the effort or whatever, what the accomplishment. But yeah, I mean, that part of it where people start to understand each other's cultures and chill the fuck out about it both ways. That's an added benefit.
Yeah, everyone.
I doubt you'd figure, when you sat down in 2015, you didn't think about that happening, but it's like extra gravy on top or extra frosting on top when that kind of opportunity happens.
Oh, it is so hilarious the way this has grown in ways that I couldn't have predicted at all. Did you see? I saw you liked it, the David Yamati, the Professor David Yamati quote.
Yeah, I mean, he talked about the 60%. I'd see it all the time, and glad that he was able to do it in a way bigger forum or whatever, because it's a cool.
Yeah, I just thought it was really cool, something to wake up to, because I didn't see it, I think, until this morning or maybe at the end of the day yesterday. But I wanted to actually watch the interview. I didn't know he said it in the interview too, and he actually gave me credit in the interview.
Yeah, and that's Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. So those folks typically pay attention, like they're the nerds of defensive gun use and concealed carry, for sure. If you've looked around and paid any attention, like the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network was the first one.
Yeah,
it's different, and it's Marty Hayes and Gila and everybody and Masada. So it's like the old school, different version of defense. Now, not every state can get it, so there's some people that can't have it. But for everybody that is a member, they're essentially, I'm just saying, they're a bunch of nerds, like as far as things go. So they're probably going to all watch that. I don't know if they've heard of you or not. But
Marty knows me, and Mossad knows me.
But I mean, I'm talking just the members in general, because there's a shit ton of them. It's like 100,000, and I know that they're gun nerds, and I know that there's defense nerds. But the thing is, you do a lot more defense shit than I pay attention to, so they may know you from that angle, right? More than diversity shoot even. But anyway, was that at a gun rights policy conference 2018?
No. Oh, I thought you meant what was just that. No, what do you mean?
Whenever you first said that, I'm trying to remember when I first heard you say that. So essentially, what I remember of it is you were saying something about to a group of people, something essentially going up and meeting people halfway sounds great, but essentially just going up to the fence and yelling over the fence at each other. This is what I think, and this is what I think. So going that 60%, going over the fence and trying to put yourself in their shoes is what essentially you're talking about. And I've attempted to do that more and more ever since you said that, because of the way that whatever I visualized that made me realize that, just going up to them, shouting your position, why would they have any inclination at all to give a shit? Like, what do we care when they yell their position at us? Like, we could care less. All we think about is the ways that their position bothers us. So you get over on their side of the fence and you see it from their side. And man, I'm trying to think of something that's an easy thing to use as an example, but there's so many examples like that. I've been flooded with them since it's been years since you mentioned that. So it's like I've been thinking about this way for a long time. When I hear other people's sides of where they're able to give me something besides just boilerplate, like I'm like, okay, I think I can understand that. Like obviously, let's pick an easy one. Someone who's someone in their family has died and it has to do with a gun. Like they're going to hate guns. Good. Guess what? You're never going to change their mind, right? We all can understand that. We can all live with that. Understanding that maybe they didn't say that. So maybe going 60%, you go, oh, now I understand because you lost someone immediate to you or whatever. Who cares? Everybody can have any feelings they want, but you know what I mean? Once you figure out, oh, okay, I see. You've had an actual experience. It's never been brought up before, so it's nobody's business. But now I understand. And I'm just using a total theoretical one here, but just the idea that you can understand from somebody's perspective, putting yourself in their shoes and seeing that from their side, the fence from their side, like, oh, okay, now I can see why you're not right, but I can see why you think I'm a dick because, I'm not doing nothing against you, but I am blocking the sun. Or like, this isn't meant to harm you, but you are getting wet from it. So let me change something on my side of the fence. You're not getting wet. Maybe we just don't have to agree, but we leave each other alone. And man, there's so much potential there. I think that I don't think anyone's ever brought that up in the years since you brought that up. So where was it that I first heard that?
It might have been one of the gun rights policy thing. I didn't even know. Look, I talk all the time.
You said it way more faster than that. I mean, I went on and on there. You said it way quicker than that, but it's just so it was such a. It had to be a gun rights policy 8. Were you speaking at Chicago?
I spoke online for 2 years. I did it online, so I don't know where it was off the top because I didn't have to fly there.
I think it was 8. I'm saying 8, but it's 18. I'm thinking it was 18 in Chicago. Is when
I did a Chicago and I did a Phoenix, but I wasn't physically at either place.
No, it wasn't in Phoenix. It was because Phoenix was later or something. Because it was definitely one that I went to, and I was like,
okay.
The problem is when I tried. Here's what happened. I went to JRPC in 15, then I couldn't get to 16 because it was in Florida, and then I went in 17 in Dallas, and AmCon number 1 in Dallas. Then I went to AmCon number 2 in Chicago, and this was like my third gun rights policy conference. And this was in 18, and we've been getting the shit kicked out of us. And if I remember right, I kind of think about how it all lines up. But essentially, whenever dumbass Trump gave up the the Hearing Protection Act and the what was universal.
Oh, the constitutional carry, yeah.
Right, he gave up both of those because of fake ass Vegas. Probably getting in trouble for saying that. Like that pissed me off so bad, and that happened like right around that time. So I was just taking a kick in the metaphorical nuts, cash wise, because I'm still getting out of debt from those trips. Like I was spending a lot of money. I got told after the fact, like, oh, there's a ton of money on the table. We should have asked for some, like assholes. So anyway, I was definitely like bitter because we were getting our asses handed to us, and I do not like the game. Like, I am not here to play a fucking game. I want to end the game. Nope. I want guns to be normalized and us to move on. So, getting to the third gun rights policy conference, and everybody who is a game player, and there's a bunch of them, national level organizations are here to play a game. They get up there and they're like, we got to play the game more. And I was just ticked. And I was like, why is nobody streaming this? Now, technically someone was streaming it, but it wasn't happening to where anybody could see it. So I was streaming from the back, and I streamed every GRPC and every AmCon from the back of the room. And that's how I remember we were all sitting there going, holy shit, this is what we need to hear more of. Like when you were saying the 60%, because like, however I said it there, you said it so much quicker. And like whoever was listening, this would have been like Smeggy and that era, like Smeggy and people doing food channels and stuff. And, we were all like, yes. So anyway, that was, I think it was 18. So ever since then, I've had a different perspective on the other people, because for a while there was a lot of rallies. Everybody hated Trump, so they would say we hate guns because they hate Trump. So they would have this massive rally against guns. You'd go there and they were like, we hate Trump, and oh yeah, guns. Oh, we hate Trump. So there was just a lot of agitation, and this was before any kind of riots or any of that kind of shit too. So we would go to these things as gun channels and just observe and try to have conversations / yelling fits and arguments with people. But there was calm people. This one, remember, there's a guy on YouTube that does this now, but this was a couple years before. Just some kid, like probably a kid from college, but like college age kid, right? standing there, and just a college-looking kid, whatever you'd call like a typical college-looking kid with pants and a shirt, nothing crazy, nothing one way or the other, just a normal college-looking kid with a piece of cardboard that said something like "Guns are not the problem, change my mind." And this was at this Trump rally, anti-Trump rally that was called an anti-gun rally. 18,000 people. To put in perspective, when you were there, you were in that thing. There was people wall to wall from both sides of the street. That whole entire thing where the boat memorials and all the war memorials, all of that was people standing up only. That thing was massive ocean of people. And way at the back of that, where if you remember, where there's a giant tire next to the mine museum, that's where we were. And literally that's how far away we'd have to be just because of the roar of the people. It was just so many people there. And it was all, we hate Trump. Oh yeah, guns. We were here because we hate guns, but it was because Trump likes guns and we hate Trump. Because really, they were just foaming at the mouth, like with regurgitating. Nobody was there with they don't really have arguments, but you know what I mean. There was no massive amount of arguments. So anyway, this kid was standing there, and a couple of people did come up, and we were trying to just observe, but it's so difficult when some kid is getting yelled at by somebody who's just upset, totally emotional and upset, and they only have like 6 tools in their toolbox. They've been told, I forget what the arguments were at the time, but like probably guns are unsafe and guns are dangerous and you shouldn't even have them, or whatever the arguments were. And this kid was trying to be good, but the guy would start yelling and be like, "You're a dick. You like Trump, don't you?" And the kid's like, "No, not really. I'm just trying to, have a conversation here to learn." And then we all jumped in, and it turned into bullshit. So that's when I figured out, what, I'm not good at this. Like, I'll let people who can keep their calm and do this, and I'll try getting better at it. But that's pretty much when you said, it was either probably right after that you came along and said the 60%. And I'm like, you know what I tried didn't work, literally in real life. So, and every once in a while you get somebody online who'll have a debate with you, but they're probably fake. They're probably just playing devil's advocate, and they don't really hate guns, because nobody that hates guns ever listens to us. But every once in a while back in the day, we could get somebody on a live stream to hate guns, and we could have a conversation with them or try. But anyway, this was a massive tangent, but it's Learn gives you the chance to have all the best stuff of these events that the other options we have, essentially, which is NRA show. This goals one, you're going to be going to that. You'll see what that's about. You've been to NRA shows or no?
Yeah, I've been to NRA shows.
Okay, so you've been to SHOT, you've been to NRA, you've been to Pennsylvania's one, Great American Outdoor Show. Yeah. And now you're going to be going to this new one. So you'll have the best, because I suspect, just from knowing John, the guy who put it together originally, I think he put it all together. That guy?
Yeah, John.
John Paul. Just understanding those, their point of views on stuff. Like it's just going to have more elements to it towards activism and awareness than any of the other ones I've ever had. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing.
So I've already heard
afterwards.
I already heard that GOA sucks and GOA is terrible and whatever. And I got it. Everybody's not perfect. People have different motivations. Like you said, some people within organizations believe in playing the game. Totally get it. Guess what? I'm going anyway. Just like I went to SHOT Show and spoke because people say the NSSF is horrible and the NSSF blah, 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 blah. Just like I was on NRA TV, I went there. A lot of people complain about everything because they're purists. I'm not going to poop on people. Okay, I totally understand the frustration level because I'm 100% Second Amendment. You should own a freaking aircraft carrier. But you're going to have to work with people that are in the room. You can't walk into the room and kick the table over and go, "You people aren't as into it as I am, so you all suck and you're garbage." I'm going to have to work with who's in the room so I can get the wider audience. So I can say I'm a 100% Second Amendment absolutist, and we need to get on board and bring as many people as we can with us. That's it. And I'll be at the table with the NRA. I'll be at the table with the NSSF. I'll be at the table with GOA. Wherever I need to be to get this message out, because we are the people that are the hardcore. We are the cadre of the Pro 2A fight. And if we remove ourselves from that arena, no one hears from us. So that's the problem, crossing your eyes and pouting and go, I'm not going to have anything to do with those organizations because they're not hardcore enough. You can feel that way, and I'm not saying you don't, but understand somebody's going to have to give this message of who we are, what we are, and we need to recruit, and we need to be in the fertile ground for recruitment. And already bring 60 to 80,000 people to an event. I have no idea who will be at the GOA event because it's the inaugural one, but I know I'm going to be at that table, and I'm going to be saying exactly the same thing a whole bunch of us are thinking. We need to grow the Second Amendment. We need to not compromise. And we need to recruit everybody and let them know this is a civil right of all people. And we need to get all of those people out front because the flannel wearing old bearded white dude has been negated by the press because they've called you every name in the book. So it's time to take a step back and push others forward. That tactic isn't going to work on. So the girl with the nose piercing, I don't know what you call it, who identifies as a Zay Zim, but is also a firearms owner because she knows no one's going to come for Zay ass to save Zay ass. That's who's going to have to do the speaking for us. That's who's going to have to open the doors that we can't get in. And we're going to have to actually open the door for them to let them come into the range and see. We really don't care about Zay Zim. We just want to introduce people to their Second Amendment right, teach them how to be safe with their firearm, and let them protect the Zay family. I don't know how to use that pronoun, by the way. But that's the whole thing. We have to recruit those people and make this one of those environments they can come into without selling ourselves out. But a lot of us won't ever even have a conversation with this person because we see the blue hair and a nose piercing and make certain assumptions. But then they look at you and see the mega hat and the 501 pants and the fisherman's jacket, and they'll make assumptions. Or they'll see, the T-shirt or the this or the that.
Well, no, they'll look at a crowd of gun owners and only see the MAGA hat and then associate, gun owners must like that guy because they're not telling that guy to leave. In the same way that there's one person there with blue hair and the rest of them aren't telling them to leave. But that doesn't mean they all got blue hair because they don't all have blue hair. So that's where we run into that, whatever.
We run into that silliness. That divisiveness is planned to keep us apart. And when I host my event, I just take it, hey, my name's Tony. I'm a Christian. I love you all, and I ain't going to apologize for none of it. But let me also tell you this. I don't care what you are. Now, let's talk about how to save your ass if something goes sideways, because here's the facts. Police take 20 minutes to arrive for most people that live in a city. And they ain't coming out. And the police forces are short of people. And we got a problem. Now, this is a right that allows you to protect yourself, especially in a state like New Jersey, where you can learn the law and deadly force law and also be armed now. Oh, let's talk about something real quick. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. All right, there's a video going around right now on Instagram of some firearms training class with a lady shooting and guys throwing buckets and water at her and hitting her with a pool noodle while she's shooting live fire on a range. They're slamming into her and stuff like this. So I'm having dinner with everybody Sunday as I'm leaving Train and Learn. We all stop. And there's like 6 of us at the end of the table having a conversation about this video. 5 of us says it's ridiculous. And the 6th one is a professional instructor. He was like, well, this might not be ridiculous if you understand it in context. The instructor was like, when I say things like this on the internet, he was like, think about this. The shooting with the 40-yard shooting, dang, I can't even think of dude's name now, in the mall in the Midwest.
Sure.
The Dickens drill. The Dickens drill. That's what everybody calls it now. 40-yard shot. He was like, he had people bumping into him probably because it was a shooting inside of a mall. He was like, and he had to concentrate and go with the flow, and you allow people to bounce off of you and this, that, and the other. And with this level, this kind of crazy chaos that they're subjecting her to is kind of a training for that, as in you've seen it before. So you kind of know how to handle it, time your thing, keep your finger off the trigger. All the things you have to learn to actually put shots where they need to go in this chaos while you're being hit and distracted. And I was like, I agree with you, but here's my problem with when you see things like this. They could have put it in context in about 10 seconds and then played the video, or even did a voiceover of the video and still got the shot they wanted, but at least they put it in context. They didn't do that. They put
Well,
it out to get eyeballs on it.
I don't know who posted it, but even if somebody, because essentially what you're talking about, I consider it like maybe Israeli, but definitely like a Russian, European, not all European,
I get it.
Russian style of training, because they'll.
But we were talking about it. Yeah, I got it. But we were talking about here in training in America.
No,
Because
I
this
hear you. I
particular
hear you, but I'm
person,
saying like that, so it can look extreme to us because we don't do that stuff here so much. But what I'm saying is, even if they said like, disclaimer, this is because we are, concerned about what if your gun goes out of battery, or what if something happens and you do get water dumped on you, because that'll happen. So, but even if they said all that, then somebody who just wants to be a douche will take that video, chop the front and back off, and put the little clip up and put Benny Hill music to it and say, look at this dumbass training. So there's just always that. And it's not like somebody's sitting around waiting to do it, but collectively somebody's going to do it every time it gets around. Like,
yeah.
As soon as
Well,
that's funny.
No, that wasn't what we were talking about, though. What we were talking about was American trainers that do it and put it out just so they can get hits, just so they can get views. All right. And this particular person was like, look, I'm there for my students and I don't care about what a liberal or two thinks that. And I was like, totally understand, because your students are your priority. But understand someone like me who is introducing people to this for the first time. And now I got a bunch of white dudes dressed like the gun owner, the stereotypical gun owner, because that's usually who is in these advanced classes. I was like, and you put this out with no context intentionally to get eyeballs and to get comments and to get that engagement up. I was like, but you're doing damage on the other side, because there's dudes like me who have to explain this way more than you're going to benefit from it. You know what I mean? By getting that extra student in the seat. And I'm like, I'm not telling you what you're doing is wrong, but I'm telling you what you're doing is causing harm that you're never seeing. And the comeback was, again, why do I care about what losing a liberal or two? And I didn't think about this until now, but we got to point across another way to him that it's affecting a whole hell of a lot more than just him. Because I'm like, blacks, Hispanics, brown people, just seeing white people act crazy with guns in their hand in an environment that they're afraid to go in the first place. And I'm trying to get them to understand the Second Amendment is something that's really important and can apply to them. And they're seeing tomfoolery on a Benny Hill soundtrack that you put out intentionally with no context. I was like, that's the problem. I'm like, in New Jersey, we had 1,200 concealed carriers. That was it. 1,200 legal concealed carry permits 2 years ago. 2 years later, we have over 50,000. That's huge. How many of them do you think might get turned off because they say you're tomfoolery, that you'll never get as students? That if you would explain it in context, at least they'd be that out there. There's always going to be an asshole that takes it and runs with it, but there's always the original. There's something that can go, this was explained. Somebody just did it for the views, but not the original person. And this is why they did it. I'm like, the few liberals that you talk about, because everybody thinks everyone in New Jersey is a liberal for some reason because they elected government, not that
You didn't move. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I didn't move. But I'm like, there's 50,000 potential students that you could have just freaking turned off immediately. Because understand, those 50,000, for a significant number of them, they didn't come from a firearms background, and they went up against their community's perception of firearms ownership, much less carrying a firearm with a permit. They went up against their own families. They're probably going up against coworkers or even the culture of their company, that some of them could lose their jobs if they were even found out to own a gun, much less carry one and have a permit to carry one. I was like, so it's much bigger than your class. And I think a lot of firearms owners don't understand, especially if they live in a freer state. One, how many people you're going to lose. We have over 1 million gun owners in Jersey. That's a lot of voting adults that can swing elections. And when you don't, I don't give a shit about those. Well, understand those liberal places are growing. New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia's gone purple. You may want to stop losing while you're behind and understand that we're going to have to bring other people in, and it just can't be tough. Deal with it. This is our culture. I'm like, no. This is just the way you're doing things. The Second Amendment should be our culture. Protecting that should be the thing. Again, uncompromisingly. But you got to get them in the door, and you can't keep doing the same old, and tell them to catch up, because the 90-year-old black lady from Harlem could give a crap about Grand Thumb or whoever is the personality you worship and want to emulate. I still need to get her in the door. I need to get her from voting against her gun rights to voting for her gun rights, or at least bringing her family, her circle, and others generationally into it, because I've done it.
So I'm going to
I'm
say
not
this, since you kind of brought it up. I'm going to interrupt you because I don't
Yeah, go ahead, man.
But essentially, one thing to do would be to try to open the eyes, or awareness. I'm going to call it awareness, I guess. Although it's a different angle on awareness. To essentially do what you just said. Like, hey, you know what you're doing over here has consequences over here, and you may not give a shit, but I'm letting you know. So now you can't act like you don't know. Now you are intentionally creating consequences over here, and that can be confrontational to think. Like, some people will go, "Oh shit, thanks, dude." So now I know. I had no idea. Like, now I know, and that was never an intention. So I'll just never do that, anything like that again, and I appreciate it. Right. And then other people are like, "Oh, what are you trying? Blah, blah, blah." And now I'm going to do it twice, and I'm going to do it standing here and make a big noise about it. So, you know what I mean? There's going to be all that variation, but another way to go about it would, or an additional, whatever, I don't think it has to be an alternative, but another way to do it is,
please. Yeah. Love it.
Instead of cutting down a tree, let a forest grow around it. And I want to use an analogy of SHOT Show. I mean, I'm still fighting this a little bit, but nowhere near as bad as it was back in the day. But I'm a revolver shooter. I don't have a fear of revolvers. I don't think that they're archaic. I understand that, just like in that video where the person's getting dumped water on, like in a real fight, I believe I'm in the philosophy of, in a real fight, you wake up to being kicked in the ribs, and that's when you figure out you need to pull a gun out, because I don't think it happens in real life. Like, hey, I'm going to start escalating violence, and you better take some time and think about, you better bring that gun out now, because soon I'm going to do what I'm saying. It doesn't go like that. I think that a lot of times, especially big people and people that are vulnerable, both, you wake up getting crap kicked out of you, being robbed or whatever, and you're trying to pull a gun out of your waistband and protect somebody. Because I'm just me. Like, I realize that a lot of people don't give a shit about themselves. They care about who's in that stroller next to them, who's on the leash next to them. We're not allowed to protect our dogs, but whatever. The spouse or the other people, right? So yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, I'm under that philosophy, and that usually is more like Krav Maga, like more Jeet Kune Do, more Spetsnaz. What's they call that? I forget what they call the Spetsnaz martial art. I'll think of it when I'm not trying to think of it, but it's more of the, like, down and dirty. Like, you're going to start the fight all tired and beat up and bloody, and now try to pull your gun and use it when you're all slippery and your gun don't work, because you might be using your gun to gouge their eyes out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get to shoot a gun all the time. So a revolver just gives you way more. And I'm like, never going to give on that, because we're not having gunfights at the range where magazines work all the time. And pistols are awesome to play around with. They're awesome to train with, but they have a slide that goes back and forth, and a bad guy knows that. Bad guys aren't fucking idiots. Like, Berettas go out of battery really easily. I don't care. Anybody can tell me I'm stupid all day long, but you can take a Beretta apart from somebody. Like, they're just simple machines, and bad guys know how simple machines work. They have nothing else to do in prison but worry about this shit. So, yeah, revolvers are definitely my recommendation. So I fight people constantly on that. But anyway, where's I getting at? You don't have to chop down the tree. Just let the others come. So SHOT Show, the booth babes at SHOT Show. Nobody went around and said, quit doing booth babes. Like, come on, ixnay on the booth babes or whatever. Or like, with the fingers to the throat, like, quit doing booth babes. What happened? What really happened? What's that shirt company? Owned by a lady. Like, let me start reading them off. Bond Arms, owned by a lady. Like, there's so many companies owned by companies.
Hold on. Taylor and Company Firearms, owned by ladies.
Right? So that's what happened. Is the company, the industry was like, booth babes were a big deal when like coked up dudes from the 80s were going to SHOT Show, but it's now the 90s and now it's the 2000s, now it's 2010s. There hasn't been hardly a booth babe at SHOT Show except for like the foreigner who shows up and thinks that you need one, right? But seriously, like, or maybe as an ironic thing, like one of the cool cutting edge companies will do it as an ironic throwback or a nod, sarcastic nod to SHOT Show. But that's what I'm getting at is that with
Systema, Soviet martial art.
Yeah, that's the motion art, and it looks like dancing. It looks all goofy, but I'll tell you what, if you can run around doing that, like, I'm not fucking with the Spetsnaz guy. Like, they'll like gymnastic shit your ass. Like they can do all kinds of shit that we never even thought about doing. We'd run around and we'd do push-ups, and they're doing like calisthenics and gymnastic shit. Maybe that was all propaganda, but I've seen with they're much more like kung fu and karate and shit. Like, and we're over there doing pugil sticks. So we're like robots and they're like ninjas. So anyway, it's just a whole fighting.
Go ahead, man.
But anyway, I'm just saying, like, I if I'm in a fight, I'm gonna figure we're gonna be in a fight for our lives, not like some like drama type of duel, I guess, but in a sense, back in old days. But anyway, that's just a long ass way of saying, let the people do what they're going to do, and it'll eventually be. It's not a roar. I mean, there's nobody that you're alluding to that I'm aware of that's like a massive roar. If there's anybody out there, they're just doing it their way, but they're only doing it their way. And here's what happens: like, students go there and they go, "Oh, this was lame," and then they go online and they go, "This was a lame class," and then that place is pretty much out of business pretty quick.
Well,
like
that isn't what's happening with these dudes. That's why I was bringing it up with the source I was there with, because, and I'm like, again, nothing's wrong with what you did at all. But if you choose to put it out without context, this is the result. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying, hey, what you did was stupid.
I'm just saying that let more and more other training come around, and then no one will even, that'll just be such an outlier that it won't even be, it'll just lose in as much, whatever, not importance, but
it falls off. But my point is, I'm doing an event next week. You know what I mean? Is this still going to be trending next week with this stupidity? Because of course everybody's devoid of originality, so they're just going to keep putting it up, talking about how stupid it is, and very few people are going to put it in context in any way. Now, if this is still a big deal on June 6th when I host my event, I'm going to actually play the video and try to have people put it in context and have people understand what could possibly be the reason they're training like this. From it takes place outside of the United States and they have different rules and regulations when it comes to stuff like that, to it could be taking place in the United States, and this is what they're preparing you for. And the fact that, again, I can use almost anything as a teachable moment, thank God, to go, guess what? This could happen because you wake up in a fight and it's not going to be a square range and it's not going to be a sunny day with a good breakfast, because usually when things go wrong, they go real wrong, and it wasn't a perfect day. It was the day you freaking put the wrong socks on and found out
that person figured you were prey, and you were prey.
Yeah. It was like everything was distracting. You'd crack your phone screen, and now you're in a fight. And this is kind of discombobulating enough that now you still have to perform at a deficit. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah, at a deficit. So this is where this could come in. But my whole thing is, that's a lot of explaining to do to something that could have been done with a voiceover.
Certainly.
Gotcha.
You know what? No, here's how you do it with text, because you can't even you can't edit that shit out. You leave some, whatever it's called, highlight text or whatever. But yeah, no, you're right. And that's the kind of thing
it was
where
cool
having that conversation with somebody, so they go, hey, you know what? Again, like, hey, you're having a great party. Awesome. You know what? Your music's so loud that everybody hates you. So guess what? Like, play the music from this track and it goes out into the canyon and nobody cares. And then, you know what I mean? Like,
And again,
sometimes,
I don't think that I do not 100% in any way believe that person is anti-gun or any anti-negative thing. I just think they saw things from their perspective, which is fine because that's called diversity. They saw things from their perspective, and then I told them about another perspective I have because of my background and experience. And then we had a conversation, and I took away from it that it is viable training, again, in context, and they took away from it that with no context, I totally understand where these guys, and it was more than just me, have to dig their way out of a hole with a group that I don't represent or even know. You know what I mean? Or met in any way.
No, I hear that. And we all got to get good at taking black eyes once in a while, but it's annoying when you got to take a black eye for, like, you know, something that's not even like you don't even give a shit about. Like, I don't know, cowboy
that's
action
really
scenes.
annoying.
Cowboy action.
Hey, Tony,
scenes.
what do you think?
Like, oh,
What do you think of this? As much as I think about the Drake Kendrick Lamar rap battle, I'm like, who? Drake. A baby dragon? No, the rapper who used to be on Nickelodeon or something. No, no, this is not a conversation I can have intelligently. What are we talking about? Oh, wow, that beat is awesome. Oh, so you picked a side. No, that beat's cool. I don't even know what they're saying or the references they're making. But man, that beat slaps. Yeah, dude. So that was one of the conversations we actually had at Train and Learn. And it was because both of us were willing to reach out 60% and have a conversation because we knew where the other were coming from, of a place of good, of a place of we're in this together. We fellowshipped here and we don't have to agree, but at least we made ourselves aware of the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
And truthfully, I came away agreeing with what he said. In context, that's good training. Out of context,
like it's for some people. Like, some people are going to want that, need that, but then 99% of people don't. No, yeah, it's not.
Well, this is something else I said. Once you get past basic firearms manipulation instruction, like the NRA First Steps course, or that first level of this is a gun and this is how sights and triggers work, then you started going down that funnel of less and less people coming to class because they feel they don't need it or haven't identified with it. That funnel gets narrower and narrower. And by class 3, where you're doing low light and force on force, then you've got to come up with something for that level 4 or 5 or 6 class. And that's where I feel stuff like this comes in, where you get slammed and you get banged around.
Yeah. Just to,
but it's a funnel.
To add more and more stressors or more variables to the, if someone was, again, looking for this, because it's, I mean, maybe as a practical thing or something, because it's not like a competition. You don't need this for competition, really, I wouldn't think. And, you know, for really anything for hunting or nothing.
So when you get, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Nothing. I was just saying, it's just maybe the same as if while you're skeet shooting, somebody slapped you with a branch or something, because like something like that might happen when you're hunting or something.
I look at it as it's like martial arts. If you take martial arts as just another cardio exercise that could have benefits in self-defense, you really don't have to get much past a white belt on how to throw a punch and how to block a punch. You know what I mean? You don't have to.
Oh, exactly. Because it's calisthenics, right? It's just exercise for you.
Yeah, it's just exercise for you, but you can throw an effective punch, but you don't have to be a black belt to do it. And understand black belt is just a level of competence that says you understand the basic stuff. It isn't some super advanced belt.
Well, it's applying.
By the time,
it's taking just the punches and applying them to somebody else trying to punch you. But like you say, if you don't care about trying to defend from somebody punching you, then just get a white belt and be healthy.
Yeah, get a white belt, have fun, and fellowship with other white belts and have fun at the thing 2 or 3 days a week. But then it's the dude that goes every day and he's taking his test for his second black belt. You know what I mean? And he's in there and he's taking, 3 guys on at one time and they're not pulling punches anymore. And it's a whole thing. Well, that's a totally different amount of training, amount of concentration and everything else that wouldn't make sense to a white belt because that ain't why I'm here. Well, I think with the firearms industry, we have to do the same thing, and
Well, that's a
that's
great
where I try to
parallel, I think.
go ahead. Yeah,
I'm
and
just
that's why I try to get people to go into competitions that are more practical, even though everything turns into a gamer thing. Because I had that even happen with our Minuteman Challenge, that somebody tried to game it up, and it's up to me and my partner to shut gaming down. And we did that after the first time somebody tried to game the system. It's like, no, no, no. We're not here just to win. We're here for you to actually run this as if every round out of your gun counts. You're not gaming this. You know what I mean? Because first of all, this is not just a game of pulling triggers and throwing lead that away. You're responsible for every round out of your gun, and we just won't accept that. And we were caught flat-footed because we thought everybody understood that beforehand, so we had to stress it when we started up again after that incident. That we're not gaming this. If you want a game, there's a whole bunch of organizations you can go through the game. What we're doing is having fun, but we're responsible for every trigger pull. And I find gaming unacceptable in our event. And anything else, have all the fun you want. You know, have super light loads like they do in SAS. Uh, that the round barely gets out the end of the barrel of the six shooter, or the shotgun doesn't recoil because it has low bird loads, or all that kind of crap. You can do that there, but you're not doing it in our event. But a lot of that turns into gaming, and sometimes even training can turn into that if you're not careful. Doing that force on force, it has to have a point. And it isn't even to win all the time. Sometimes you have to find out that you can't win, that you're not getting out of this. I mean, you're in the knives. I don't know if you've taken knife fighting classes at all.
no, no, I don't. I
Okay.
wouldn't pull a knife. I mean, I would if I had to, like to defend myself in an emergency, but
hmm
I'm not grabbing a knife to jump into a knife fight by any means,
Yeah. So fighting with a knife,
unless it's with a bear.
pretty much. Yeah. Well, it's a whole. I'd rather be with the bear than be with a lady I don't know in the elevator. Why? Because I can explain getting eaten by a bear if I lived through it. I can't explain that crap to my wife if something happens with that woman on the elevator. I'd be safer with the bear. Um, my whole thing about with a knife fighting, when you actually take knife fighting classes, you'll learn that you're coming out of this cut too. Everybody's getting cut, and I think a lot of people turn it into a game. One of the guys I follow, dang, I can't think of his name, Filipino dude, uh, Funker Tactical. He used to be Funker Tactical, and he was part of that back in the day. He used to do
That's a long
combat
time
footage.
ago.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Well, he stepped away from that, but he's a Filipino knife fighter kind of dude, and he even talks about that people have turned this into almost entertainment, gamesmanship, and lost the fact that it was actually a martial art that carried real consequences, and they handle it for real. And he makes videos still about it, how it's a little bit corny when some people do it, and it's cool. But I think a lot of people forget that. They forget that this is real, and they turned it into a game. And sometimes trainers can do it too. One of the big
Well,
things from us is
going back
to
to
help.
my that whole like cycle, when once you have kind of exhausted your pool of customers, then that's a
hmm
path that's available, is to play with it, right? To game it a little
Yep.
bit.
So one of the drills we do today, and everybody, we're going to test my skills by doing the El Presidente. I think I've told this story here before. The Presidente drill, where you have your back turned on three targets, and you spin back around and you shoot three targets, do a magazine change, and shoot the targets again. I think 2 rounds apiece, do a mag change, 2 rounds each, back up. Uh,
And that's
what's his
back
name?
on the days when there was very few established drills
Trainers.
that people did. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, drills specifically that trainers would use. So there was very few back in the day, and that was one of the first of them.
yeah. So that was the El Presidente, and that was done by the guy that started Gunsight. I can't think of his name, Colonel Jeff Cooper.
Cooper, yeah.
So yeah, so Colonel Cooper was in South America, he said, and he came up with that. And the way he came up with that is they had their whole training cycle with this particular country's police force, or not police force, but security detail for the president. And he'd gone through all that, and the plane is coming, but it's delayed. So now there's like 2 more hours added to their range time. There's just downtime. And they're like, oh, you got to have another one. Oh, what's another one we can do? What's another training? And he pulled this out of his ass to kill time. And they were really thrilled about it because all of a sudden they have their back turned and it's a threat behind them because these guys are security detail. They turn around and it's 3 armed assailants they have to put down with 2 rounds each, do a reload and re-engage in case it was a failure to stop or whatever. But really, it was just some dude came up with another level of training because he was out of drills already. But these dudes had already gone through his whole curriculum and they were trained already. So when I watch people who've never done this jumping on, they don't know the story behind it. They don't know the level of training it took for those dudes to do it. And it was kind of made up. So it wasn't really based on a real thing. They just tried to make it fit into something, but people don't know the background. So they look at it as a serious drill that happens. And it's like, no, it was something he made up and then tried to figure out a way to wedge that in and apply it. And it's not coming from what somebody else said. I read his magazine article on it that he read.
I think I have heard that story. Once you got to the end, I was like, oh, I have heard this before, but it was at a CCW class like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's the you've heard the thing about I've heard it both turkey and ham, but like the mom is cutting the butt off the turkey or something, and it's like I don't know, grandma did it, and like I don't know, grandma did it, and then it's like you finally ask grandma, and she's like, oh, the oven was small, so we cut the butt off the turkey or whatever so it would fit. But everybody just kept cutting the butt off the turkey through the rest of the generations because grandma did it. So you fall into that kind of shit too sometimes.
And there's nothing. I mean, again, when I point out stuff like this, I'm not attacking anybody or saying anybody's, but if you don't know the story behind something, we've added a lot of importance to a lot of different things in the firearms realm because I'm a nerd and you're a nerd. We know some of the stuff behind things like
art to document it, and there's so much of it, and it's blossomed since I gave up on it 2 years ago, and I can't even imagine the amount of drills that have happened in the last 2 years.
How's this one? Just a thing. Oh, the original 1911 didn't have a thumb safety on it.
Okay.
The Army insisted on that. It is like, yeah, okay, well, it has one now. Or it was a grip safety. I forget which one, but the Army wanted a secondary safety on it. And John Moses Browning didn't think it was necessary, but he wanted the damn contract. I'm thinking it was a grip safety that was unnecessary. Because he didn't have one
gun. I've been in the Browning Museum and I've looked at it, but it was so long ago. And now, of course, I'm trying to think. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know. Two dudes who just said they were nerds. Meanwhile, can't remember this thing. But we both know it was like one of the safeties was missing because it wasn't designed with it in the first place and it was insisted on by the Army. Just like what is it? The forward assist was insisted on by the Army, and Eugene Stoner thought it was a stupid ass idea.
It's probably safety, like you're saying, because they were like, somebody might shoot themselves, so let's put this complicated dumbass manual of arms on it.
Yeah, I mean, because it was supposed to be those handguns were supposed to be for cavalry anyway. It was a cavalry thing. It wasn't going to be issued to everybody else at that time, and then that all changed, and they got rid of the cavalry. We don't know a lot of the whys behind things because people don't read anymore. And it's almost became a game of telephone from the dudes that developed it because it was written in books. The book by Jelly Brights, who trained the FBI initially in handgunning, in actual handgun combat. Nobody's even seen that book in print in our entire life. You know what I mean? The last time that was freshly printed was probably the 50s. But because I'm a nerd and I go way back, I've read it. You know what I mean? Bill Jordan books. I got his book.
You ever seen the holding the flashlight up above your head?
Yeah, the FBI.
Right. Steve Fisher used to say like that was originally because back in the olden days when you had horses and shit and they had lanterns, they'd have to hold that lantern that high. So that's why they would hold their fucking flashlights up because they're so used to having their or whatever.
Yeah, that was the that's a flashlight. No, that's an effing lantern that cast something that was like 7 lumens. and you were shooting at shadows. I'm like, we don't know a lot of stuff or where it comes from, but you got dudes like Steve who keeps talking about retiring soon. You got older guys like what's his name from Thunder Ranch, Clint Smith.
Clint, yep.
If you don't read their books, if you don't get their DVD, because the drills are one thing, it's the conversations with dudes that are professionals in this, to the actual font of knowledge and pass it on. But that stuff might not make a DVD. Those conversations sometimes has to be done in person. And also, all right, we're all gun guys in this room, gun guys, gun ladies. There's a lot of stuff that falls between the cracks because we aren't so into this profession. But there's going to have to be somebody that takes this information to the next level and teaches it to the next generation of gun owners, gun shooters. And it's these little things that explains the why behind a lot of what we do that'll stop you from cutting the ends of a ham off because, well, grandma's pan was smaller. And it's like we're teaching stuff that doesn't need to be taught, or at least we don't know the why behind it. And I think it's important to get that why behind it to people that want to know the difference. You don't have to hit everybody up with every piece of minutia you know at the introductory class or even the secondary class. But that's why one of the things I do is this podcast to answer questions and to talk about this minutia, because this is the audience for that. That's also one of the reasons I go into tangents on the 2A4E podcast, because that information is out there, but we have to look for it. And if you want to be that expert in your circle of friends, and again, to be an expert, all you have to do is know a little bit more than your buddies, but at least to have real facts and know where you can find those facts is kind of helpful.
Know your resources. So you just have to know that there's something to know and then where to find it. And you're done. Mm-hmm. You got everything at that point.
Yep. Now, hey, did you see a cool thing real quick? Huh. G.I. Joe. Have you seen this?
What? No.
They're re-releasing all the G.I. Joe comic books, all the crossovers, all the everything in a set. One with G.I. Joe and G.I. Joe logos, and another one with all of Cobra stuff.
I don't know if I've seen it on a Match thing or if I've seen it on like an Instagram post, but I did see it somewhere.
Yeah, it's an Instagram post, so I'm about to repost it because I'm that nerd. I have no idea how it's a Kickstarter right now.
Oh,
Dave Reese,
that's cool.
Yeah, I like Kickstarters. So I want to try to get in on that and let people know about that, even though it has nothing to do.
Well, first off, tangents are cool, especially in nowadays in 2024, because if somebody's listening to this live, go to the bathroom and let your dog out or whatever, right? Go get something to drink, come back and the tangent's over. If you're listening to this as a podcast, you hit the right button 3 times and you're probably past the tangent. So skip, you know what I mean? Like skip, and you're past the tangent. If you want to go back and listen to it sometime, you know that it's there, go find it and listen to it. As these things get indexed, they start to chapterize our stuff anyway. I don't think we have to do that. I think it just chapterizes it for us. So, essentially, eventually technology will make it so where our tangents are less of a. But let me go back to
Tony. Go ahead. I love to see what the title will be. Tony and G-Webs lost their damn mind for the last 15 minutes. All right, now we're back.
Exactly. Yeah. That would be the time chapter. Exactly. Like unnecessary, and then it goes back on topic. But going back to a couple of things, there was 2 ways I wanted to talk about what you brought up, and I don't have any disagreement with what you said because I thought the exact same thing. I've tried to say it in plenty of chats over the years. Everything that you just said there, but 2 things. One is I'm going to say I got the good side and the positive side and the less positive side. It gets the more frustrating side. I don't think it's less positive. It's just frustrating, and it's just the world is frustrating, right? But I think of it sometimes this way, and this is one of the reasons I was able to get on. I was really frustrated that I wasn't able to get the history of firearms training in the project I was working on, the 2A history project, because there's just so much of it, and it kept adding like literally exponentially as I go to find, because you get to the future, you get to current, and there's people that just make up their own shit, and they're making up their own shit, and it's huge curriculums now. So it's like there's just so much to add that I didn't know when to stop. So here's what helped me to go, okay, well, this is not futile, but it's just not possible, I guess, is the way to maybe look at it. But let's say Cooper. If you really get into it, at least my knowledge of Cooper is he comes from being a police officer and then those leather competitions that they had where they would draw like cowboys back in California. So they were literally drawn like cowboys, like on movies, and then they were being cops. So they had their real experience being a cop in California in the 50s and 60s, which I can't even imagine because the whole big ass shit happened because of the way cops were in California in the 50s and 60s. Saying? So in the 50s and 60s, and then playing cowboy. So, okay, yeah, they had a lot of experience playing cowboy, but then that's where a shit ton of our CCW doctrine comes from. So, okay, they had a lot of practice drawing from holsters in the range, and they were cops, but it's not like they were having gunfights. Like if you listen to some people, like there's actual who's the guy, Pat Rogers, like an actual SWAT cop, an actual Marine who like did shit. Like, okay, now there's an instructor who's bringing. I was kicking indoors and doing stuff, and the people that went to go to Pat Rogers class, one wanted to hang out with Pat Rogers and be an alumni, but then also learn the perspective of kicking down doors as I have the authority of the state and I'm kicking down the door, and if I'm wrong, somebody else is going to worry about that, right? So that's a different type of class than anything Cooper was doing. So that's just two drastic examples of good reputation. Now you get to Clint Smith, a pupil of Cooper who started his own school. He's doing long range distance shooting. Like where do anybody except sworn officers get anywhere near being able to be authorized to shoot somebody with a rifle at distance? So anybody who's taken that class is taking it for hunting or for defense of their state and their country. You know what I mean? You're not taking that for self-defense because that's not self-defense anymore. But fuck it, take that class. Like you better learn that from a dude who's at least a Marine, right? I'm not crazy. And a guy who knows how to use a carbine or a rifle, both. So, okay, so that's three different points of view. And all right, I don't want to be a dick, but at some point they stopped and started being instructors. So at that point they stopped and started being instructors. And what happened in the world? The 1980s, where we had basically the chill, and then we had the 90s where everybody said let's experiment with CCW. Let's all have concealed carry. And boom, the entire country, including Illinois, now has concealed carry. And then in the 2000s, Arizona was first to say, why don't we up this and say constitutional carry? And a bunch of people said blood in the streets. 29 states later,
29 states later, baby.
Right. So I'm just saying, an instructor who comes along today and says, I've got experience XYZ because I've had a shit ton of students. It's hard for me to say, fuck you, new kid who doesn't know shit, because you're not Cooper. Well, Cooper doesn't know what it's like to be in a world with 29 states with concealed carry or constitutional carry. I refuse to say permitless carry because that's a shitty way to say it. But and then an entire state or country of CCW. Like that's a whole different world. So it's really tough to condemn new instructors because they don't have the doctrine of the old days, because the doctrine of the old days was a shit ton of theory and a shit ton of we don't have the authority to do this shit. So so the same way that like if somebody goes, oh, well, I don't want to learn from some like SEAL, like let's say a SEAL, because I don't think of Green Berets teach. So you want to take the opportunity to learn from a Green Beret if you can, because that's their fucking job. But if you're going to learn from like a SEAL or maybe a recon Marine or somebody whose job was to do the work, like kick the shit down, like Green Berets will go do that shit if you want them to, but you know, they're going to be competent, but that's not their main goal is to teach other forces to do that shit and then be with them when they're doing that shit. But Marines and SEALs shit, they just go do that shit daily. So, okay, I don't want to listen to them because, yeah, they know how to do it, but they don't have the same rules of engagement as we do in the United States. You can't be doing any of that shit, really. And I've heard the gambit on room clearing from do it to don't even think about it, right? So anybody who's confident in it, anybody who's done it and thinks of it like I would think petting a dog, some people are going to be like, you can't just pet dogs. Like, I've been bitten by a dog. You can't just pet dogs. And I'm like, I don't care. I've been bitten by more dogs than you've been bitten by, and I still pet dogs, right? Like, so there's people are on different levels. So yeah, that's where I think you get, I don't think you can be too worried about training, or at least you can't think that training is. Like, training is just so organic that that it's just interesting. It's like one of the most interesting things we've got it's not our only interesting thing, because if I go into the metals and materials, we could have the same conversations, but because there's no right or wrong with training, I guess. But because of that, there's a room for there's opportunity for scoundrels, or whatever you want to call, like exploiters, to come in and just say whatever, like snake oil salesmen. I don't know of any because I don't pay attention, but I'm sure they're out there just because of the nature of people and the potential. And that's probably
I know some
who would do anything to make a view or whatever. But the thing is, I don't see like a epidemic of them. Like, they probably exist, but they're happening and they're being snuffed out because they think the free market again, right? But anyway, I think that's
free market kills a lot of them off. But who I was talking about is somebody you've actually trained with. But again, it's a philosophy, and how do I put it? Because again, I don't think they're wrong. I think
Well, I think
I
one of
think
the
that
things I was going to address is like SEER school. Like some of the shit that happens in SEER school, which is sort of
Mhm.
survival limitation, something or another, they don't
Yeah,
talk about, because they claim a lot of things, but mainly it's because people can't handle what they do there. Like regular people are going to like,
exactly.
oh, what's happening? And in real life, when your life is at stake, you want to learn shit. You want to know what it's like to have the shit kicked out of you so that you know what it's like to have the shit kicked out of you. Some people can't handle that fact. But in real life, when
And
people are going to be risking their life, they need to know what happens when the shit is kicked out of them. And guess what? The
and
only way
that's what the
that happens
conversation
is
turned into.
okay, okay.
And, and that's what the
But I guess
conversation
what the
turned
thing is,
into.
that's why you leave that shit behind closed doors, and you don't ever bring a
Yep,
camera in and that kind of shit.
there you go. And that's what we agreed on, because this is somewhere you're an alumni from, and we've actually had this conversation,
I
and
think it's
we all agreed. Yep,
yeah.
and we all agreed because once you let things out to a group of people that aren't mentally prepared in any way to even understand self-defense training, much less stuff that goes on in SEER school where you get waterboarded as part of your class curriculum.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah.
You can't let them see that. You can't let people see some of the stuff we do in Marine Corps boot camp without them losing their stuff. And that's some of the most tame stuff you'll ever do in the Corps. And they look at that as extreme. So, yeah, we had that discussion and we agreed again because we were having a conversation of people that respected each other and knew that you're not being attacked. This is just a conversation. This is not even a conversation needing to be won. I just need you to see my perspective. And that's where it comes to 60% and willing to step over that fence and get out of your comfort zone and be told, I'm seeing something you're doing. I'm catching the flack for it. And this is how I see what you're doing and how, again, I try not to point out the negatives. And sometimes when you're caught up in conversation, you kind of do hit a negative. But it's like, no, no, no. I'm not pooping on you. I'm trying to get you to see how when you do 1+1, I'm covered number 2 over here in this corner because I have to explain how you came to 1+1 in the crazy way you did it. I'm not saying the answer is wrong, but I'm saying the way, what does it show your work? Remember they used to make us do that in math class, show how you got the answer. You can't just write the answer. That's what we're talking about. And it's not disrespectful. But when it comes to training, there's a whole bunch of ways to skin a cat. And some of those ways are made up by people that are shysters or
Yeah.
shisty or
Yeah.
suck. And sometimes a lot of what they do,
Or sometimes they're just shitty, and they're not trying to screw you, but they're going to screw you because they just suck at it.
and how's this one? Because now that you kind of know who I'm talking about, they try to copy what they saw the people at the good school that developed this curriculum did without having any context. So they're trying to do something that maybe they never even went to the class at a good school that shows you how to do crazy shit stuff. All they heard, all they saw was a video of the crazy stuff and tried to emulate it and don't know the why behind it, don't know the strategy behind it, don't even know how they came up with it. It just makes them look cool on social media and it gives people something to talk about. Well, you're totally divorced from that. You're totally divorced from that school that came up with that thing. You don't know anything about Jeff Cooper. You don't know anything about the Presidente, but you came up with your own thing of the El Presidente drill that's dangerous, that's stupid, and that you put out there with no context because you didn't even know the context, or you made up one that was stupid. So that's, I mean, because I'm trying to talk about something without attacking anyone, because I'm not. I'm 100% agreeing with the person, but stuff has to be done in context. And I think one of the scary parts about firearms training, if you don't vet your instructors, is you could go to somebody sucky and learn something dangerous or even get hurt in class because your instructor saw something dangerous. He's not really a good instructor, or maybe he's just not a good instructor and is implementing something that's way above their ability to control or your ability or the class's ability to do safely.
So that's the thing too, and that's well, we're 3 hours. We got to cut it here. I got to go.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I'm hungry. I got to go eat.
That's a whole. I was eating some spinach earlier. Right? That's a whole nother conversation though, because that's kind of what I was talking about with first aid, or at least what I was kind of alluding to with first aid. I think too is that sometimes it's cool and you can talk about it, but should you have, or like, did you think about the whole picture when you brought that up? Because maybe it's not that it's a bad technique, but maybe an introductory class can only handle like 10 techniques and you just gave them 15. So maybe it's not so much that it was risky what you taught them, but it could be, and they really only needed 10 or 12 things anyway. So easy to make the decision to remove a couple of these things that might look cool in a thumbnail, right, when you're putting it together or marketing it, but or the thing that you thought was so cool out of your class for you. But that's another thing instructors got to master, is like what works for you. Big whoop. Like, you're not taking your own class. Like, you need to worry about what your instructors or what your students need out of stuff. Oh, I thought he was talking about there's a couple of comedy ones out there. Is that the guy? I don't remember. Voda?
Oh, Voda? No, I wasn't talking about Voda. Or at least I wasn't. I left the whole Voda thing alone because there's enough people dogpiling on that they didn't need me. And I actually got other people on the other side wanting me to defend him. And I was like, you're kidding, right?
It's not that. I'm thinking of like that karate guy. It's not like a joke account where they're just doing.
Yeah. I don't even know his name, but yeah, that was a 100% joke account. And there was also Master Ken.
Yeah, but it's not. I was thinking of an account like that where he was maybe saying one of those kind of accounts. But
yeah, anyway, Voda was totally different. Yeah.
Let's end this. So thanks for the time. The rest of it we'll be back here if you're around. We'll be back next week, and we'll get to some actual questions for folks again. But thanks for taking the time to talk about Train and Learn. But take the rest of the time today and just let us know when you're next. What's up? What's coming?
Okay, cool. All right, what do we got going on? I picked up another range. I have to actually contact them. Sorry, I've been on vacation all week. They want to do diversity shoots at a different range in New Jersey. And hopefully next week when we come to you, I'll have dates for our fourth range and a brand new one in New Jersey that we'll be hosting at. Our next event is at Gun for Hire Range in Woodland Park, New Jersey, on June 6th. So it's one of the largest ranges in North America, and indoor ranges in North America. And I'm going to be there June 6th. You can go to Eventbrite under Tony Simon or go to Diversity Shoot. Just click on the link and buy your tickets today. It's $20 to come to our event. We're introduce you to Second Amendment organizations. We eat pizza, we break bread, I tell jokes, and then we go shoot guns, lots of guns. And we're going to have some fun at this event. I have some giveaways and stuff like that, raffles, to help raise funds. And that's what I do. So if you want to support me, you could go to diversityshoot.com and make donations there through PayPal, or you can DM me on my social media at SimonSaysTrain on Instagram, SimonSaysTrain on Facebook. The second is for everyone on Facebook. Second, the number for the number, everyone on X. You can contact me through any of those, or even Tony at diversityshoot.com. But if you want to make donations, it helps us out a lot, and I really appreciate it. And also, if you want to catch me on the Gun and Gear Review podcast, we do that every Tuesday, live, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Gun and Gear Review podcast channel on YouTube.
Yeah, I've been watching that one whenever I can catch it. Tuesday shows.
Oh, I got some bad news for you, bro.
Huh.
Remember Self-Defense Radio Network? I'm on the Self-Defense Gun Stories. Well, I just got contacted and he's stepping away from that now.
That Paul is
So
not Paul.
not Paul, Rob
Really?
Morris. He's
I
stepping
haven't
away.
heard
He
from
was
him
like,
in a while. Has he been doing it?
yeah, he's been doing it. I mean, I was on less than a month ago, but he's stepping away because the editing. He's been trying to find someone to step in and help him edit, and he was also trying to do a Spanish language version of it. And you just can't find. Everybody thinks it's a good idea, but nobody wants to help make it happen. So
Yeah.
he's finally walking away from it because he's retired. I mean, it's like how many hours do you do this to
Yeah.
come up with this 20-minute podcast of 4 different news stories with multiple whatever. So that's what's going on, but it's still out there. And I think it's very, very necessary to us as self defenders to check out that because it breaks you out of whatever trope you have running in your head about what self defense is, because it gives you 4 real news stories from the paper that week around the country. We don't see it because you live wherever you live and they really don't cover armed self-defense on your local news. So you might hear one every now and again, but he has a service that lets you know where they are around the country, and he's able to put together a show every week. And we did it for over 350 episodes. So there's a lot of information out there with 350 episodes, an average of 4 events each episode. Let me see, 4 times 350, that's 17,000 episodes. So
It's 6 years too, right?
yeah, we did it for a few years, so it's really worthwhile. It's worth checking out. But I wanted to put it out there that he's no
I
longer
think
doing live shows.
is he still blogging then?
I think he still is. He didn't mention anything about quitting all of that. He just said he had to step away from the show because of the amount of time he was taking to edit each show.
Is there still a what's the name of that network?
Self Defense Radio Network, yes.
Is that still a thing?
hmm That's still a thing as far as I know. Armed Lutheran is on it and a few others.
Because those are all shows that, well, because Paul stopped and now if Rob stopped, and those are 2 from that network.
Yeah, that's the horsepower behind a lot of that network getting done. But hey, listen, you can walk away from stuff and there'll be another generation. I mean, I'm in this advocacy partially because I was motivated by Paul and when he started the first show that they did. So I'm here because of that. And hopefully what I do gets somebody else in. I mean, actually, it already has, and I've been told it has.
That'd be the Polite
What?
Society podcast, or
Yeah, the Polite Society podcast. And before it was called Polite Society podcast, it was called something else. And I've been around since that time. So I'm just saying, what we all do is it's not done alone, positive or negative. Just keep that in mind, man. Other people are watching. Other people
And don't
being
take-
motivated by you.
don't take for granted that there's other people gonna be providing the content part of it. It's easy
Nope.
to be in a race, but we need people creating content because
Yep.
something's got to drop out.
Hey, people still got things to do. They still got bills to pay, and they still got a limited amount of time in their day.
All right, well, so that's sad news, but inevitable, I guess. Everything's going to end at some point, except for robots. So let's not forget our robot overlords, and that's the other point I was going to bring up before. There's the good news, and there's the indifferent, or not. I don't know if it's depressing, but my saying that there is no accurate training anymore, right? Like there's only this flux. So that was sort of my there's no good news, no bad news side. But I think there is good news in the respect that, I mean, I'm paying attention to the robots, the AIs and stuff as much as I can, casually. I mean, like semi-pro, right? Like I use it for stuff, I guess, professionally, but I'm not like wheeling and dealing massive deals with cool stuff yet. But I plan to, right? Because there are pretty powerful tools. And all I'm getting at is when you think about what can be done today with, let's say, a logarithm, I guess, or like coding, it's just better and better. So when I think of the future, I guess looking at the internet, the future robots looking at the internet are going to be like the current Google looking at the pictures. So if somebody took a bunch of black and white photos and scanned them into the internet, put them on a web page, Google knows about them, And if you tagged all those pictures, like this is grandma's 40th wedding anniversary, such and such New York, blah, blah, blah was there. And so, Uncle Charlie or something, like now Google knows about that. And we have essentially that happening. We're all out here doing our thing. And right now we think of it all as individual stuff. We're all just doing our thing, maybe, trying to succeed on the platforms or make our projects bigger or better or whatever we're trying to do out there. And in the future, they're going to be looking backwards at all this, right? And the powerful scraping robots are going to be able to go back and look at everything and go, well, Tony Simon, he said the word, diversity this many million times. And it'll know, like, this is how many times you've said the word. At some point, you won't be around no more and you'll have said the word diversity. And like, I believe that in the future, the robots, I'm not certain, but it's definitely a possibility that the robots will be able to just go, oh yeah, Tony Simon, he said that word 45,000 times or whatever, the number is. And compared to, I don't know, so-and-so else person who only said it, 15 times. So there's, I just think that we're creating the data that the future is going to use. So that part of it is, I think it's positive that even if we're doing stuff, even in vain, like the worst stuff that's possibly being done out now, is still at least contributing to the big knowledge that's adding up, right? Like the same way that those people that wrote books, some of them were amazing, awesome books and were super necessary and, have equations in them or something that's necessary about building a building. And then somebody wrote some dumb books and somebody wrote Mad Magazine, and it all contributes, right? So I just think that knowing how fast and strong the robots are getting when we're off world and people are like, what happened on planet Earth in the 2000s for like your homework assignment? They're just going to scoop everything we ever did up and go, yeah, here's what the Second Amendment was like, back when guns were persecuted by the elites and the statists, the people that liked guns and gave us individual freedom back again because their rights were at stake. This is how that went down in the era of 2015 to 2025. Seriously, it could be a 10-year era. Like we could be a year away from gun normalization. Just because, again, there's a lot of people working on this, and all it takes is the people in the middle understanding that guns aren't some kind of ultimately scary, ultimately evil, ultimately dangerous thing that we barely hold on to, and we're dropping all the time and they're exploding. So anyway, I'm ranting. So thanks everybody for joining us, and thanks again, Tony, for taking 3 hours out of your weekend. Hopefully a good week, and I'm glad you had a chance to have an adventure. We didn't talk about the private stuff. That you had a chance to get some private stuff done. That's always a good thing, and just to be able to come through it all with pretty much all positive. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Right on. Thanks everybody for supporting everything everybody does. And there's Krabby out there. Have a great weekend. I'm going to throw a commercial up here. I was trying to wait for Brooke to put up her show because I always like to send people off to Brooke Cheney's Suicide Prevention Saturday show. She just hasn't posted her show as of the last time I refreshed. See, she hasn't posted it. So I'll just post here to the channel and recommend that if you're available in a few hours, Brooke will be doing a brief but consistent effort to normalize the conversation about mental health awareness, and that benefits us all. So thanks to everybody, and we'll I'll just end. I'm sitting here talking for hours.